On a beautiful morning in a certain room, right now, across from the window, a man and a woman are leisurely enjoying breakfast at the dining table. The man suddenly calls out, "Leah." The woman, hearing this, turns to look at him and smiles, asking, "Can I help you, Your Majesty?" With his flawlessly handsome face, he asks with a hint of reproach, "Lately, why haven't you asked me if I've had breakfast?" She smiles brightly and replies, "Well, Your Majesty is healthy now." His eyes flicker with surprise, and he asks in a low voice, "What does being healthy have to do with it? Do you not care about me anymore?" She laughs brightly and affirms, "Oh my, why would you say such a thing? I've always said that my lifelong wish is for Your Majesty to be healthy and well." Hearing her say this, he seems somewhat appeased and says, "Well, all right then." She doesn't reply, but instead sighs unconsciously and exclaims, he really is handsome. For the past 2 years, thinking about how much I've had to strive to help him achieve this radiant and healthy face, enduring sleepless nights, constantly checking on his health. It's beyond words. But finally, today has arrived. The day everything ends, everything has come to pass. Thinking this, Leah suddenly speaks up, Your Majesty, there's something I want to say." He asks in a low voice, "What is it?" She immediately smiles brightly and suggests, "Let's get a divorce, because Your Majesty doesn't need me anymore." So, before she can finish her sentence, he uses his knife to cut the piece of meat on his plate in half, causing the plate itself to crack in two. He then turns to look at her with a start and asks in alarm, "What?" Seeing his eyebrows slowly furrow together, she can't help but be surprised. Oh my, why the frown? After thinking it over, she quickly leans closer to him, smoothing his forehead with her hand as she smiles and explains, "I also need to find my own life in a peaceful village now." He hesitates slightly and asks, "So, you're planning to leave the palace?" While reaching out to receive a piece of paper from a servant, Leah cheerfully confirms, "Yes. After all, ours was just a political marriage, and Your Majesty was also very uncomfortable because of my father. Right, so I'll leave now." He doesn't say anything, but hurriedly picks up the paper, his eyes suddenly widening in surprise. Seeing the 3 words divorce papers staring back at him, his hand trembles slightly as he clutches the paper for a moment. Then, he suddenly places it on the table and calmly says, "As you wish. We'll talk again at tea time." Hearing him say this, she can't help but light up with joy, clapping her hands and exclaiming, "Oh my, really?" He smiles brightly and suggests, "Let's finish eating." She replies with a cheerful smile, "Yes, Your Majesty." Then, she lowers her head, smiling to herself and sighing in relief. "That was easier than I thought. It seems like things will progress quickly, huh?" Later that afternoon, in the quiet atmosphere of an ordinary afternoon, someone suddenly cries out, upon seeing syrup slowly dripping from the corner of his mouth. Leah asks in a panicked stammer, "Yo, Your Majesty, blood is coming from your mouth." As soon as she finishes speaking, he suddenly leans to the right and weakly utters, "Leah." Then he collapsed onto the floor. Seeing this, she quickly stood up and frantically shouted, "Your Majesty, call the doctor immediately." What in the world? Suddenly realizing something, Leah quickly added, "Wait a minute, something strange." The doctor rushed in and anxiously asked, "Your Majesty, what happened?" Seeing him frown and groan without speaking, she immediately sat down beside him and worriedly inquired, "Your Majesty, are you all right?" The doctor stammered a guess. This reaction, perhaps His Majesty has been poisoned. She asked back in shock, "What?" He gravely explained the current situation. It must have been the strange taste of the wine that he noticed. Why would he do that when he's usually so careful? Hearing this, she broke out in a cold sweat and fearfully asked, "No, could it be? Your Majesty, you didn't drink poison on purpose, did you?" How could the main character end up in this situation? It all started 2 years ago. Leah Celeste. In the fantasy novel, As Long as It's Not Me, the ending was disappointing, like a dragon's head drowning. Day after day, she was only preoccupied with indulging in pleasures. To emphasize the failed social relationships of the main character, the tyrant, someone suddenly laughed loudly and criticized, the Empress is such a nuisance." A supporting character who gets poisoned without knowing the reason or the perpetrator, causing the Emperor to go mad and commit suicide and the country to fall into ruin. Even more absurd, the two were only politically married, not lovers. It was simply in the final chapter of the novel, As Long as It's Not Me. Along with it were many critical comments. "What kind of ending is this? Trash novel. What a waste of money. Don't buy it anymore." Author, did you rush this? Is this ending really the best? It's not logical. The plot is terrible. Just leaving my 10,000th comment here. So pitiful. I even want to live in her place. One morning in a room somewhere inside the castle, someone suddenly called out, Your Majesty, the Empress, it's time for you to wake up. Bring the drinks here quickly. Did the author, or rather God, read my comment? Unbelievably, that day, I possessed Leah Celeste. I didn't really mean to live in her place. I don't want to be poisoned. First, I'll drink some water and then think about it. Having just taken a sip, she suddenly spat it all out for some reason. Then her face paled, and she asked in a panic, What is this? What's going on? A maid immediately explained, tremblingly, Please forgive me, Your Majesty. Your Majesty's favorite wine ran out, so I prepared beer. Wiping her mouth with her hand, she asked with some surprise, What? Then, she couldn't help but be puzzled. No, giving alcohol to someone who just woke up is... Oh wait, the problem is Lialia. You drink alcohol like water. Seeing her apparent annoyance at the beer substituting the wine, the maid with the bun hairstyle, tears welling in her eyes, pleaded shakily, Your Majesty, I won't let this happen again. However, I apologize, but if I'm disciplined only a week after starting, it will cause gossip. Leah quickly rubbed her forehead and sighed, saying sternly, Understood, no, understood. But from now on, no more alcohol. The bun-haired maid brightened at this and replied, Yes, Your Majesty. Then, shall I prepare today's schedule? Leah softly murmured, repeating today's schedule. Then, with a touch of unease, what should I do if I'm suspected? If it's Leah, she definitely would be. Thinking this, she suddenly suggested in a louder voice, Right, after bathing, first, I will go to the harem. At this moment, Leah was being assisted by her maids in adjusting her attire. Gazing at herself in the mirror, she pondered, My husband, and also the tyrant of this country, Emperor Sign Bermut. After Leah's death, he becomes a madman and destroys the country. At the age of 28, he commits suicide. As I recall, the time of their deaths isn't too far apart. The protagonist's current age is 26. How long did Leah live this year? So, I have 2 years left until my death. A moment later, while rummaging for something, Leah muttered, Time, I don't have time. To survive, everything must be resolved. The bun-haired maid suddenly broke out in a sweat and stammered, Yo, Your Majesty. Leah abruptly turned and commanded loudly, Loren, quickly go to the harem. Loren, startled, replied, Yes, Your Majesty. A while later, as Leah and her close maids were on their way to their destination, the surrounding maids began whispering amongst themselves. As expected, Her Majesty is going there today, isn't she? What's there to even say? It seems like the Empress is trying to bankrupt the national treasury. It's been 3 months since the marriage. Although aware of the gossip, Leah wasn't angry, but calmly considered, indeed, it's natural for them to say that. According to Leah's increasingly resurfacing memories, Leah provided the men who lived with her an enormous allowance, the beauty contest. She even wore a ring. I must be careful and take care so the emperor doesn't become a madman. Even if I survive, if the country collapses, a peaceful future will also vanish. Now that I think about it, has His Majesty ever mentioned the harem? It doesn't seem to be in Leah's memories either. Just then, Loren suddenly called out, Your Majesty? Leah quickly asked, What is it? Loren softly suggested, Should we prepare the beer as well, Your Majesty? Leah asked back, confused, What are you talking about? I said no more alcohol. Loren, slightly bewildered, reiterated, Yesterday, when you visited the harem, didn't you say to prepare a drinking game? Didn't you say the winner would be granted the first opportunity? Throwing open the doors and striding in, Leah declared loudly, no, cancel everything. Cancel it all. This depraved person. If I don't quickly reform her, then, as soon as Leah entered, the harem, filled with her young, attractive men, immediately vied for her attention, excitedly greeting her. Greetings, Your Majesty. Your Majesty, please come this way. Your Majesty, please sit here. I've changed a cushion for you. How rude. Your Majesty will sit next to me. Don't be ridiculous. I won yesterday's drinking contest. My beloved Majesty is mine. What's going on? How dare you? This guy, seeing the harem full of pretty boys arguing and fighting over her, she unconsciously darkened her face and sighed in annoyance. Really? Then she continued inwardly, This is chaos. Then she yelled angrily, Hey! The green-haired pretty boy, hearing this, broke out in a cold sweat and fearfully called out, Why, Your Majesty? She trembled with anger and growled, All of you, pack your things and leave. You're all fired. Hearing this, the entire harem was bewildered and called out in unison, Why, Your Majesty? Then they took turns putting on optimistic smiles and said, "You're such a kidder, Your Majesty. You're so mischievous. How can we live without you?" Leah grinned, baring her teeth, and explained, "It's not like that." Then she immediately pointed towards a nearby door and loudly ordered, "Pack your things immediately and get out." Her harem was utterly shocked and cried out desperately, "Your Majesty." Then they immediately fell to their knees before her, weeping and pleading, "Your Majesty, no. We have nowhere to go if not this harem. Your Imperial Majesty, how can you abandon us like this? Please don't abandon me." Leah angrily demanded, "Let go. Let go of me." Seeing their stubbornness, she quickly turned to the knights and yelled, "Why are you just standing there? Help me. Get away." Seeing her dare to order the knights to point their swords at them, the long, black-haired pretty boy couldn't help but say resentfully, "Sob, Your Majesty, you indirectly kissed me last night. How can you deceive a man's heart and leave like this?" Liao looked at them with utter disgust. This will never end. They're like tax thieves, all show and no substance. Thinking this, she immediately found excuses to criticize them loudly. First of all, your butt is too big. It's uncomfortable. The long, black-haired pretty boy said sadly. Yesterday you said it was alluring. She ignored him and continued pointing at each of them, criticizing, "You're a social deviant. Stop crying. You too, your muscles are disgusting." Hearing this, all three of them burst into tears and reproached her in unison, "You're too much, Your Majesty." Then, no matter how much they pleaded and begged, she ruthlessly found excuses to dismiss them all. "Your hair color isn't very nice. This is when I was playing with paint with Your Majesty. Your breath stinks. Your Majesty, you should leave too. Get out, get out." Only when there was no one left did she relax and stand there, breathing heavily to vent her anger. Then she exclaimed happily, "Finally, it's done." Seeing Leah suddenly dismiss all the pretty boys she once treasured, Loren couldn't help but ask in confusion, "Your Majesty, are you unhappy?" She quickly turned around and smiled, affirming, "Not at all." Loren, feeling a bit hesitant, quickly offered encouragement. "I understand you don't like tonight, but if it's this sudden," Leah asked in surprise. "Tonight," Lauren took her hand, tears welling in her eyes. "Don't mind what the palace officials say, Your Majesty. Please rest and relax before tonight." "Ah, what if I bring in a more handsome man?" Leah quickly offered an excuse. "It's not like that," the black-haired knight quickly suggested. "Yes, I will make a list of handsome men to bring to Your Majesty." Leah, upon hearing this, couldn't help but feel a sense of dread. Even if she was terrible, why was she being treated like a debauchee? Her face paled as she frantically explained, "No, listen to me." He asked back cluelessly, "Then what is it?" "Huh, indeed, is it my turn now? I apologize, Your Majesty. I didn't expect something like this to happen, so it's old underwear again." Lauren quickly suggested, "If you need a quiet space, Your Majesty, I can lead you to the bedroom." "I'll leave now," she cried out in a panic. "No need," the black-haired knight calmly asked. "So it's someone who doesn't like underwear? Then I'll take it all off." Seeing him about to cross the line, she quickly covered her eyes and screamed in terror, "Ah, I don't need anything. Everyone get out now." Later that afternoon, in Leah's room, the moment she stepped into her room, she immediately ran to the bed and collapsed onto it, letting out a sigh of relief. Then, with tears in her eyes, she said joyfully, "Finally, I got rid of all those people. Now I can rest." With that thought, she quickly rolled over and laughed heartily. "It's all Leah's karma. I deserve this." Just then, Lauren asked, "Your Majesty, what about the rest of the people in the harem?" Hearing this, Leah immediately sat up and quickly made a decision. "Huh, there's still more? Get rid of them all tomorrow." Lauren replied, "Yes, Your Majesty." Then, "Your Majesty, would you like to relax with an aromatherapy massage and a light dinner while waiting for tonight?" Leah quickly declined. "No, I just want to sleep like this." Lauren continued softly, "However, tonight we must prepare for the consummation." Leah asked in a low voice, "Consummation?" Then she quickly covered her mouth. Her face paled in alarm. "Consummation? Consummation? Do they mean I have to sleep with him? With that tyrant? I didn't see this in the original story." Leah stammered, Lauren, it seems like it's the alcohol-induced amnesia." Confused, Leah asked, "Yes, Your Majesty? What are you talking about?" Tears welled up as Leah asked helplessly, "You don't understand? How? The consummation, does it have to be done today?" Lauren quickly explained, "The consummation of the two of you was stipulated by Duke Celeste upon your marriage. It must be done at least once a month." Leah replied with a pained expression, I understand. Duke Cromwell Celeste, who made great contributions to the founding of the empire. He trained many great swordsmen and renowned diplomats. He is the head of the prestigious Duke Celeste family and the father of Leah, who is called. Even the number of times his son-in-law and daughter consummate their marriage is stipulated. Even for an arranged marriage, that's too much. But it's strange. Even though I'm trying to sort through my memories of Leah, nothing related to an arranged marriage or the Duke appears. The marriage contract, it's as if, from the beginning, there was nothing. Cyan Bermut, Leah Celeste. Could this be the part not in the original work? No, that's too much, isn't it? Even supporting characters have their own lives. This kind of terrible novel, that's right, in this chaotic world, I can only trust myself. After thinking it over, Leah dejectedly hung her head, then called out, "Lauren." She replied, "Yes, Your Majesty." Leah asked curiously, "What do I have to prepare for today?" Because of the alcohol, my memory is a bit fuzzy. What I normally do. Lauren, sweating, seriously suggested, "Just adjust your mind and body to calm down." Leah asked in surprise, "Huh? Adjust my mind?" Lauren replied, "Yes, Your Majesty, because you prefer quiet." Leah smiled brightly and exclaimed, "Oh, I see. That's no big deal." Lauren anxiously affirmed, "Your Majesty, truly." During the 2 previous wedding nights, Your Majesty screamed. Has His Majesty become more aggressive? So this time, to have a peaceful night, you must. Absolutely. Not scream anymore. At this moment, Leah, along with Lauren and 2 other knights, were walking straight to Cyan's room. As she walked, she felt a little uneasy. During the consummation, the Emperor becomes violent and even screams. Could it be some kind of perverted hobby? I never expected this. The bedroom is different from what I imagined. It looks warm and comfortable. While she was still busy admiring the room, Lauren bowed respectfully and said, "Your Majesty, then we will take our leave." Seeing that they were about to close the door and lock her in, she panicked and reached out, shouting, "What? No, don't leave me alone in this scary place." Lauren calmly offered a blessing. "I hope you can relax and enjoy yourself." Hearing this, Leah cried out in fear. "No!" Then she quickly went to the bed, buried her face in it, and muttered in frustration, As expected, the boss is the Emperor, so that's how it is? The cold world of the workplace. But what did the Emperor do to make the Empress scream like that? In the matter with Duke Cromwell too, I don't remember anything about the key figure in the story. This is so frustrating, I'm going crazy. Right? Anyway, if we meet, it'll be dangerous, so I'll just sleep first. A moment later, while Tri closed her eyes and lied down to sleep, Liao wondered, wow, this feels so comfortable. Now I'll probably fall asleep. Suddenly hearing someone open the door, she immediately opened her eyes. Then, with some suspicion, could it be that the Emperor is here? As soon as she finished speaking, Cyan lay down beside her. Startled, she cringed. "Don't make a sound. Just pretend to be asleep, pretend to be asleep." But it's quieter than I thought. It's probably better than I expected. His figure from behind is really pleasant too. Thick black hair looks so smooth. Just his hair alone is more handsome than the men in the harem. Oh, but why cover his ears while sleeping? He's acting like it's noisy. Could be OCD? Because he's been through war, but doing this will hurt his ears. Thinking this, Liao boldly reached out and respectfully said, "Your Majesty." But before she could finish her sentence, Cyan immediately grabbed her hand. Then he pushed her down on the bed and growled, "You're too loud." Suddenly remembering something, she immediately reacted. I've seen this reaction before. Then she suddenly asked seriously, "Your Majesty, do you have migraines?" While Liao was dealing with her harem issues, at the same time, somewhere in the castle, a prisoner trembled and pleaded, "Save me." The smell of enemy blood and screams echoed throughout the room. Asterisk, this isn't a coincidence, but it disgusts me. While my head is constantly throbbing, asterisk, even though I've tried everything, I can't get that scream out of my head. Asterisk, quietly breathing. When father caught me cherishing a caterpillar, he immediately flung it away and scolded, "Don't pay attention to such lowly things." Asterisk, whether it's sad or happy, joyful or suffering, it's not something you need to care about. An overly sentimental emperor will lead to the empire's downfall. Remember the prophecy and dedicate yourself to the empire. Asterisk, don't get involved with superfluous things. Emotions are the biggest obstacle. Asterisk, just by abandoning emotions, you won't feel pain. As soon as I won the throne, someone immediately came to me and whispered in my ear, "Congratulations on winning the throne, Your Majesty." Asterisk, please never stop destroying your enemies. It's the only way to stop the prophecy and save the kingdom. Asterisk, war is too much to bear for someone who has spent their whole life controlling their emotions. I'm always trying to get used to being the head of the kingdom. These hallucinatory sounds constantly piercing my ears. Asterisk, right at this moment, that silver-haired man came again and asked, "Your Majesty, do you want to stop the torture?" Asterisk, and this person was none other than Cromwell Celeste, Leah's father. I coldly replied, "Yes." Hearing that, he started his psychological manipulation. There are still many captured enemies. To end the rebellion, you must interrogate them to lessen your burden. Didn't you already entrust all official duties to me? I indifferently replied, yes. He suddenly asked suspiciously, today is your wedding night, isn't it? So we should stop here, so you can return to your room. Asterisk thinking back, he was the one who proposed the marriage. Even though I knew his intentions, I still agreed to marry because it didn't matter who became empress. Asterisk if I had known she was such a loud woman, I would have refused, because the first time we met, Leah screamed in terror, hey. Asterisk, then she hurriedly shouted, Your Majesty, don't come near me. Leah's excessive screaming caused a cacophony of sounds to rush into my ears. Making me hastily punch the table next to me. Then I covered my face and growled, too loud. Making her terrified and hastily huddle in a corner. And so, the very next day, I went to see him and demanded, today I want peace. Otherwise, I won't guarantee your daughter's life. He calmly replied, as you wish. Seeing him agree to my demand so easily made me suspicious that he agreed immediately. It wouldn't be fair for a daughter abandoned by her father to die because of me. And so, he let Xiaon walk away, but little did Xiaon know that he was secretly smirking behind his back. After the stream of memories in Xiaon's mind drifted away, Liao called out, Your Majesty, do you have a migraine? He immediately roared, shut up, and glared at her. She was no different from the others. This woman would cry, wouldn't she? Would he be able to restrain himself? He didn't know if he would kill her. As he was thinking this, she suddenly pushed him aside and calmly suggested, Your Majesty, lie down and close your eyes. Aren't you sleepy? I'll tell you a story to help you sleep. Xiaon, flustered, unconsciously lay down, then felt a bit surprised, thought, what's this? Today's different. He thought, just as Liao began to speak, I met a man when I was 20. He was my first love. He was always flirting with other women, so I wanted to break up. So, hey, yes, I told him I'd return the gifts he gave me. And then, I gave someone named Taylor a really nice fountain pen for our 1-year anniversary. But he gave me cookies that he said he made, but he actually bought them from the discount rack at a bakery. Listening to her story, his eyes unconsciously drooped, and he suddenly thought, even though she's talking nonstop beside me, instead of a headache, I feel drowsy. She continued enthusiastically, so I said I wasn't happy, but he got angry and said I only cared about money. He suddenly felt a longing that I suddenly feel sleepy. She continued, but the one named Sam was a kind person. Even though I always paid for everything when we dated, he always wrote me letters. Very romantic, right? Xiaon didn't answer, feeling a bit confused. But is she talking about her exes in front of her husband right now? What a strange woman. Brushing her hair back, Leah smiled brightly and said, but I'm okay now. I've dumped those men. There's still a few in the harem, but that's in the past. He continued not to answer, a bit surprised that I thought she was an addict and promiscuous like her father. Isn't she just a fool when it comes to love? But it seems she's not the easy type. Seeing that he seemed to be asleep, she whispered, Good night, Your Majesty. He felt drowsy. There are still a few men in the harem? Why are there still a few? The next morning, in Xiaon's room, he had woken up after a sound sleep next to Liao. He suddenly rubbed his head. My head is empty and so light. Thinking this, he unconsciously turned to look. He saw her still sleeping soundly beside him. Seeing this, he immediately exclaimed, What a strangely peaceful morning. She was talking so cheerfully before, and now she's sleeping so soundly. Unbelievable, my wife. This isn't as uncomfortable as I thought, so it's surprising. I had a better sleep thanks to her, which is strange. No medicine has ever relieved my headaches and insomnia. But after hearing this woman's voice, I actually slept better last night. What did she do? Anyway, having a clear head is something to be grateful for. My headaches have been making meetings with the ministers difficult. I've delegated almost all the work to Duke Celeste, but I can't keep doing that. I should take this opportunity to finish the postponed documents without his help. And maybe calling at work is a way to repay a good night's sleep. So, who's been left out in the harem then? A while later, in Leah's room, she had also woken up and was stretching, then said refreshingly, I slept really well. Last night was great, wasn't it? The Emperor fell asleep surprisingly easily. My asthma was effective, right? Lauren bowed her head slightly and asked with concern, Your Majesty, did you sleep well? She replied cheerfully, Yes. Good morning, Lauren. What's on the schedule today? Lauren seriously replied, As you know, After every social gathering, a tea party with Duke Celeste is always scheduled. The Duke is expected to arrive at the palace in 2 hours. Leah's face paled, and she asked, puzzled, why is the Duke interested in the social gathering? It's not that unusual anymore. This is even more annoying. When will the Duke finally give me a grandchild? I'm old and waiting for death. But father, I'm only 20. Even in this fantasy romance setting, I still have to listen to nagging about marriage in my free time. But there's nothing better than dragon tail soup for having a son. Don't leave anything, eat it all. Thinking this, Liat quickly feigned fatigue and said softly, on second thought, I think I'm feeling ill. Perhaps in an hour, you could tell my father not to come to the palace today, all right? Lauren, hearing this, couldn't help but ask, but Your Majesty, isn't that the event you've been looking forward to? Liat asked back in surprise, really? Lauren immediately confirmed, yes, Your Majesty. You said it was the only day your father visits. Hearing this, Liat couldn't help but tear up in anguish. Don't give the side characters such pitiful backstories, really. But I still hate it. I don't want to care about other people's family matters. The imperial harem of Leah. Neo, sharing honest thoughts about her father. Honest warning. Why is my father here? A minute ago, the optimal asthma method to cure insomnia. 8 hours ago, dealing with bothersome ex-boyfriends. After that, saying it won't happen again. Thinking this, Leah hastily exclaimed, unbelievable. Hearing this, Lauren bowed her head slightly and said encouragingly, I understand. That's fortunate. Last night ended without incident. If I tell the Emperor, he'll be very relieved. Leah gave a dry chuckle and suggested, do that. By the way, I need to see the royal physician today. Lauren asked in surprise, you mean right now? Leah calmly confirmed, yes, prepare a bath. She then thought seriously, asterisk there's no time to relax. Leah will die from poisoning. I need to understand this body to prepare for threats. To survive in the future, I need to check my health right now. Asterisk. A while later, in a certain room, someone suddenly opened the door and exclaimed joyfully, the Empress is here. Your Majesty, how were you able to come here? If you had called, I would have run to you without even putting on my shoes. Seeing the somewhat handsome doctor before her, she felt a little embarrassed. Leah chose this guy just for his looks, didn't she? She then said indifferently, no, it's just, I have a few questions. He replied with a bright smile, I understand. Please have a seat. He then habitually sat down beside her. Surprised by his proximity, she quickly leaned to the side and said in a raised voice, isn't this a bit too close? Even during a consultation, he suddenly spoke, my apologies. But last time, you said this would be easier to hear. While trying to lean away from him, she said with some annoyance, even if this is really too much, and then seriously suggested, I will be mindful of keeping my distance from now on. More importantly, I've been concerned about my health lately. I want to be checked for allergies or have a full body examination. You surely know what's best as a physician. Additional tests may take about a day to prepare. He suddenly said with a foolish grin, I don't know anything. Stunned, she asked what? He replied honestly, I don't know about those things. But about your body, I know well about your softness. Why don't you remember? You wouldn't let me. You said even serving you in the bedroom has its limits. But on your lonely throne, have you grown tired of being alone, my Empress? I want to know more about you. Please trust me, and before he could finish, she sharply brushed his hand away and said sternly, no, that's not it. What kind of royal physician doesn't know about the Empress's condition? It's a miracle you're still alive. Guards, take this man away immediately. As the guards dragged him away, he stubbornly shouted and pleaded, Your Majesty, there must be some misunderstanding. If there's anything lacking, please let me fix it. Your Majesty, Your Majesty. Looking at the stethoscope on the table, Leah was utterly speechless. Asterisk of a broken stethoscope, even covered in dust. Keeping someone like that as a physician, I'll be poisoned soon, or maybe worse. Asterisk. Thinking this, Leah hastily asked, Lauren, who brought that man onto the ship? She replied, Your Majesty, you chose him from the candidates. You said his face made you feel quite trusting. Leah didn't respond, but instead hung her head in exasperation. Asterisk Leah, she was a useless beauty. She really chose him for his looks. Asterisk. But he graduated from a medical university. Oh, his grades were terrible. Even a degree like this can be bought. Wait, I feel like I've missed something. Documents submitted to the Empress are usually checked by low-ranking officials first. How could someone so terrible become a candidate? Thinking about this, Leah suddenly scoffed and guessed that might just be Leah's joke. But could be wrong. Leah then seriously considered, it seems like someone incompetent in medicine got through. It seems like someone has secretly backed him. It's no wonder Leah liked handsome men. Some of those doctors were also chosen for their looks. They must have bribed a handsome graduate, sneaking such a useless person in. If they benefited from that mess, then it would obviously become a simple poisoning case. Since the cause was unknown when her health declined, she must have been poisoned for a long time. Leah's death was more carefully planned than expected, and although the cause of the Emperor's death was suicide, it wasn't mentioned in principle. If he had to listen to screams all day in that dark and dirty basement, it was likely due to his health rather than physical or mental state. If the Empress's personal physician accepted bribes, the Emperor's health wouldn't be guaranteed. I will definitely stop the source of this. I will save myself and save the Emperor for a peaceful future. Having thought this, Leah hastily called out, Lauren, let's go see His Majesty. Lauren asked back in shock, huh? She eagerly explained, I have something to confirm. Where is he? Lauren quickly closed her eyes, then replied with concern, he's in his study. On the way to science study, some servants suddenly whispered amongst themselves in surprise. What? Why is the Empress here? What trouble is she going to cause this time? A moment later, as soon as she arrived at the door of his study, the two guards immediately bowed and greeted in unison. We greet Her Majesty, the Empress. She smiled brightly and replied, hello. Is His Majesty inside? Could you open the door for me? I have some urgent matters to ask him. The two guards were stunned. The Empress just greeted us? I see. The guard on the right hastily bowed and explained, we apologize, but His Majesty has requested not to see anyone unless they have an appointment. Leah quickly feigned a pitiful expression and asked, I really have to ask him right now. Is that not possible? Both guards immediately apologized in unison. We apologize, Your Majesty. She suddenly said with a hint of regret, it seems it can't be helped. I can't do anything. Then I'll just have to ask him directly. After that, she quickly ran straight towards the door, causing the two astonished guards to yell, why are you going so fast? What? Your Majesty, you're not allowed. Your Majesty, this isn't allowed. If you suddenly enter now. Her sudden action of opening the door startled Cyan and his nearby aides, causing them to stare at her in astonishment. Meanwhile, she remained quite nonchalant, despite having been warned by the two guards beforehand. He coldly asked, what is this? She smiled and replied, greetings, Your Majesty. He coldly questioned, haven't you heard? Uninvited guests are forbidden. She smiled brightly and replied, forgive me, but there are a few things I need to ask right now. Hearing this, he sarcastically retorted, I'm curious about the importance of these questions. She cheerfully affirmed, of course, Your Majesty, nothing is more important. Your Majesty, have you had breakfast? He didn't answer but stared at her wide-eyed. For a long while, seeing this, the two guards quickly knelt down. Then they pleaded earnestly, please execute us, Your Majesty. This is our fault for not stopping Her Majesty. Leah, smiling brightly, continued, you must be hungry after dealing with official duties all morning, right? One of the two guards continued to cry and plead, Your Ma. Scene firmly replied, no. Hearing him, the two guards quickly stepped forward, took her hands, and said, we will escort you out, Your Majesty. Forgive us, Your Majesty. Suddenly being forcibly dragged away, she couldn't help but ask in bewilderment, wait a minute. Seeing that she had been expelled from the room, Lauren anxiously asked, Your Majesty, are you all right? She replied with a bit of frustration, yes, I'm fine. Excuse me. Then, she couldn't help but exclaim, is he going to do this? Having thought it over, she quickly walked to the door and knocked a few times, then called out, my husband, please don't be like this and have a meal with me. You need to eat 3 meals regularly to sleep well. She then seriously considered, it's not because of that doctor that I have to say this. I need to be closer to him. I can't assess his condition if we only meet briefly on our wedding night. But if I say I'll be poisoned in the future and he'll commit suicide, who would believe that? So, of course, building a close relationship by eating together is necessary. Once we're closer, I'll take care of his every meal and sleep. So both his body and mind must be healthy. I guess it won't be easy, but it seems easier than I thought. He's like a prickly Black Panther. I should remind him that I'm not someone to be trifled with. Having thought it over, Leah turned around and said, Lauren, can you bring some snacks? I think we'll have a tea party now. At this point, she smugly added in her mind, let's see who wins. A while later, Cyan had finished his work, and his aide said, Your Majesty, you've worked hard. The remaining duties must wait until tomorrow. He coldly interrupted, no, there's nothing to worry about. We'll proceed as planned tomorrow. Just then, someone unexpectedly asked with concern, oh my, Your Majesty, are you going out now? Hearing this, he immediately looked down and saw Leah sitting in front of his door, waiting for him. The aide, seeing this, was startled and exclaimed, Your Majesty, the Empress. She smiled brightly and asked, would you like to have dinner with me? He didn't answer, but quickly thought, she really has no shame. Is she trying to get my attention? I wonder how long this shamelessness will last. Under her expectant gaze, I hesitated for a moment, silently looking at her. Then, I suddenly suggested, let's go to the dining room. She didn't answer immediately, but stared at me intently for a long time. Then, she cheerfully followed me, her eyes crinkling as she replied, yes, Your Majesty, just like our previous meals together. Liao was the one who started the conversation. Your Majesty, what kind of food do you usually prefer? Do you put tangerines in your salad? I think tomatoes would be better. Xin listened, but it's worth noting that he never answered. Liao continued her monologue. Oh, I heard that lettuce is good for sleep, and so are chicken and almonds. I'm sure the chef has taken note of this. Scene suddenly stopped eating, placing his cutlery on the table. Liao was quite surprised when she heard Scene abruptly call, hurry! His eyes were wary, his tone much colder. What do you want? Liao innocently replied, I just want you to eat well. Scene clearly didn't believe her. Why do you care? Liao thought for a moment before answering him. Well, you've been sleeping well, so I thought you should eat well too. Having said what she needed to ask, she carefully looked up and secretly observed Scene's expression. Just look, even now, you're not even touching your food. That's why you're always so tense and can't sleep well. However, Scene completely ignored Leah's concern for him. He still seemed very wary of her. With that ridiculous excuse, are you challenging the Emperor who could easily break your neck? His threat truly terrified the maids present, but it didn't faze Leah. She boldly retorted, but you haven't done it, have you? Scene angrily clenched his hand. What makes you think that? Leah looked directly into his eyes and flatly replied, because I'm still alive. If your Majesty wanted to harm me, you would have done it last night, but you spared me. I don't think you'll change your mind now, which is why I asked for your permission to dine with you. This time, Liao had successfully silenced Scene and made him listen. She continued, for someone willing to bargain for a meal, your reasoning seems too altruistic. Actually, I have a favor to ask of your Majesty. This morning, I dismissed my personal physician because I found him incompetent. As he was being dragged away, he kept wailing, Your Majesty, I think there's been a misunderstanding. If I'm incompetent, please tell me. Leah casually asked for Scene's opinion, though it seems she merely wanted his agreement. If your Majesty permits, I would also like to be treated by your physician. Scene finally spoke, just as expected of Duke Celeste's daughter. I thought you only cared about living a carefree life in the harem, indifferent to the affairs of state. I didn't expect you to try to consolidate your position this way. You're willing to use any means to achieve your ends, aren't you? Liao was clearly surprised by Scene's harsh words. She exclaimed, oh. Liao gaped, astonished. He's saying I inherited Cromwell Celeste's cruelty? How am I anything like him? She cleared her throat to hide her embarrassment. It's outrageous to say such a thing. Sharing a physician is simply a practical matter for His Majesty's health. I only thought, if you permit, I'd also like to help treat your insomnia. Scene suddenly agreed to her proposal that I accept. Liao clearly hadn't expected him to acquiesce so easily. She looked up at him, surprised. Oh, really? Liao was overjoyed. Thank you, Your Majesty. I'll ask the doctor to guide me on how to treat insomnia. However, this time Scene refused, and no need. The words had barely left his mouth when Liao froze. Scene spoke to her coldly. However you did it last night. If you dare use such foolish trickery to manipulate me again, you won't keep your life. Scene's tone, a mix of rejection and warning, frightened Liao further. I had no such intention. Scene strode towards the door. Then we shall see. Despite the blunt rejection, it didn't seem to affect her mood. Don't be like that, Your Majesty. Don't you want a good night's sleep tonight? Scene frowned, irritated that you're quite glib. Liao followed, after him. I sincerely just want to help Your Majesty sleep better. That's all. If you want to sleep soundly like last night, you can come to my room anytime. The door slammed shut, narrowly missing Liao. She stood silent for a moment. Then, her suppressed anger finally erupted. She gritted her teeth and hissed. Lauren and Sarah rushed in, panicked. Your Majesty, Empress, are you all right? Someone fetch the doctor. Liao leaned weakly into her maid's arms, thinking, asterisk, can I consider this a success? Pretending to be calm is so tiring. Asterisk. Asterisk, now that I've overcome the most dangerous obstacle, it's time to prepare a solid detoxification plan. If the doctor is trustworthy, I could discuss the Emperor's health with him. He seems uncooperative now, but that's not a problem. Asterisk. Even if he pushes me away now, he won't easily forget the comfort of a good night's sleep. With this thought, her spirits lifted. Liao skipped back to her room. Asterisk, I will definitely make him fall for me. I will have my revenge. Just you wait. Male lead. Asterisk. From that day on, she began visiting the Emperor's study every day. Full of energy, Liao would poke her head in and greet him cheerfully. Good morning, Your Majesty. Have you had breakfast yet? She'd continue at lunchtime. Your Majesty, would you like to have lunch with me? And again in the evening, Your Majesty, it's evening. Would you like to dine with me? He snapped, so frustrated that he broke the pen in his hand. Get her out of here, and stuff a bread roll in her mouth if she makes another sound. And so, upon leaving his study, Liao was indeed presented with a bread roll. She sighed. Ah, what a fortress. At this rate, we'll both be dead before I can. Near him, as she walked, she overheard gossip about herself. I heard the Empress is becoming His Majesty's stalker these days. They say she's constantly begging His Majesty to eat with her. Wait, so now she's going to strip His Majesty's clothes off, like she did with that night afterward. She decided upon hearing this. Oh my, listen to them. How embarrassing. But about that night, he took it off himself. Liao felt disheartened at times. However, she reassured herself, who cares about my image? Come on, it's not like I've lost everything. A week has passed since that night, which means he's almost at his limit. Night quickly arrived. Liao prepared to brush her hair for bed. She frowned, seemingly having heard something. Liao quickly ran to the bedroom door and opened it. She pretended to be surprised by Seen's sudden appearance. Oh my, what brings you here? Your Majesty. Her call went unanswered. Seen just stood silently outside the door and looked at her. Liao called him again, panicked, Your Majesty. Seen simply said to Liao, short and to the point, let me sleep. Liao wasn't angry. On the contrary, her smile deepened. Yes, Your Majesty. Moonlight streamed in through the window, brightening Lia's room. Early the next morning, Seen, as usual, shut himself in his study to work. His aide approached and whispered something to him, Your Majesty. The Empress has arrived. Seen paused his work, considering something. Finally, he stood up and left his seat. Wait here a moment. The aides in the room immediately acknowledged the order respectfully, yes. The oldest aide among them gasped and sighed, Oh dear, it's happening again today. Do you see? All of you, do you see? It's the 4th day already. The young aide beside him grumbled, Good heavens, someone pinch me. I think I might have amnesia. How can His Majesty eat with the Empress? Seen ignored the aide's gossip coming from inside. He walked quickly past Liao and said, Hurry up, let's go. Liao was surprised he disregarded their chatter and went to eat with her. Yes, I understand. Liao seemed very happy, her eyes crinkling with a smile. The usually cold Seen suddenly spoke first. How was your morning? Liao was momentarily at a loss for words. However, being known for her quick wit, she recovered quickly that I was a bit busy. I read some books and also went out to the garden. There are a lot of flowers I like there, so it was quite enjoyable. Seen didn't reply, silently enjoying his meal. Liao looked up at Seen, assessing him, thought he's still the same. He has no intention of reconciling with me, but Liao reached out towards Seen. Your Majesty, could you please pass me the pepper? Seen stiffly picked up the small jar on the table. He slowly handed it to Liao, who couldn't hide her delight. Thank you. Your Majesty, Liao murmured to the pepper jar, as if speaking to Seen. Thanks to you, it will be even more delicious. This is truly an impressive step forward. Seeing Seen stand up, Liao quickly asked, Ah, are you leaving already? So, I'll see you tonight, Your Majesty. The dining room door slammed shut, just like yesterday, but it didn't affect Leah's enjoyment of the delicious food. Lauren was quite curious. She leaned down and whispered in Leah's ear, Your Majesty. How do you manage that? Leah asked back, and what do you mean? Lauren pretended to pour her tea, but she was really trying to satisfy her curiosity that I'm referring to His Majesty. He wouldn't even take a step unless it was our wedding night. Every day, Your Majesty has to face His Majesty, doesn't she? Leah cheerfully took the teacup Lauren had just poured for her. She mused to herself, should I call it training? At first, I really was treated like a side character. However, now Seen not only doesn't feel repulsed by me, but he also comes to me every night, put me to sleep. Every time, she cheerfully ushered him into her room. Of course, welcome, Your Majesty. Please lie down on the bed. My dear husband. Liao secretly felt thrilled. After such a long time, the only thing he said to her was put me to sleep. She found him unexpectedly cute. Liao whispered in Seen's ear, Today, I'll tell you the story about my maid, the one who used to work in our house. She met a difficult customer while working at the tea house. Liao rambled on, tried to create white noise to lull Seen to sleep. The funny thing is, he's become unable to sleep without her. Liao looked up at the ceiling before softly answering Lauren's question. Perhaps it's because he likes the nights we've been having lately. Lauren didn't expect Liao to say such a thing. Her jaw dropped, but Liao was completely oblivious to Lauren's unusual reaction to her mentioning this innocent matter. I've put in a lot of effort every night for His Majesty. Thankfully, it seems he's quite satisfied. Lauren told her, since the two of you are so close, I'm sure the Duke will be very pleased as well. Liao replied, well, it has to be that way. She suddenly remembered something. Father hasn't visited since that day. Liao stood up and told Lauren, let's go now. I need to finish what I have to do before nightfall. Lauren respectfully acknowledged the order. Yes, Your Majesty. The maids there bowed their heads respectfully as she passed. I want to meet someone. The person bowed respectfully. Greetings, Your Majesty. Leah smoothed her hair and spoke indifferently, I see. It seems you've grown tired of seeing me so often. Merton, an incompetent doctor who was being punished by standing there hunched over. The doctor at the Emperor's palace, Merton. Leah told him, ever since the day I entrusted you with my first diagnosis, I haven't slept a single night without a headache. However, instead of reflecting on your incompetence, you treat your patients as if they're lying. I'm curious to know, what words will you use to ridicule me today? Merton silently opened his briefcase. Leah thought, actually, Merton's diagnosis is quite accurate. I'm forcing myself to have a healthy body. Leah screamed and made a fuss, making Merton tearless. Tea hurts. It really hurts. Hurry up and give me medicine. Merton felt very confused. He stammered, according to my diagnosis, Your Majesty is perfectly healthy. Leah carefully considered the truth and falsehood in Merton's words. Merton was only speaking the truth. If someone easily loses their integrity in the face of money or power, doesn't that also increase the possibility of bribery? For that reason, she had been pressuring Merton for 2 weeks, and today was the long-awaited final test. Leah somberly asked Merton, today, we will surely receive an accurate diagnosis, right? Your life depends on your answer this time, so you'd best think carefully. Now tell me, what is your diagnosis? Merton knelt on the floor. Your Majesty, you have a mild illness. Leah suddenly smiled. She shot a murderous look at Merton and yelled at him, come here. You really seem unable to excuse my character. Merton flinched, like a mouse being interrogated by a cat. Your Majesty, how could I? Leah growled again, then, you should give the correct diagnosis. Merton suddenly bluntly criticized Leah. You've turned her into a liar, and now you want my head to remain on my shoulders. Leah, again, showed no concern for his feelings. I'll count to 3, and you'd best tell the truth. This is your last chance. 3. The sharp sword was pointed directly at Merton's neck. He trembled and stammered, Leah continued the countdown. Point 2. Merton was instantly thrown into a panic as the sword edged closer. Leah counted to the final number. Point 1. Merton hastily yelled, I apologize, but as someone entrusted with protecting life, I did not lie. Currently, Your Majesty, you are perfectly healthy. For a moment, the air inside the room froze. Merton continued, I will continue to work diligently to ensure that there are no further troubles in Your Majesty's palace. Please spare my life. Leah suddenly spoke, her voice clearly filled with amusement. All right, that's the answer I've been wanting to hear. If it's you, I can trust you. Since His Majesty and I are both healthy, I can trust you to take care of His Majesty. Merton was utterly bewildered by Leah's sudden change in attitude. Yes. Leah suddenly strode towards him, swift as the wind, and took his hand. I look forward to working happily with you, Merton. After settling Merton's matter, Leah finally had some free time with her maid. Is it because the issue with the personal physician has been resolved that the tension has also decreased? Lauren, have you cleaned the harem yet? Lauren quickly gave her an answer. Yes, Your Majesty. All the furniture and decorations have been cleared out, and the remaining items will be arranged to leave today. However, there are people who haven't left yet, delaying the cleaning process. Leah was clearly not expecting this. What? I clearly ordered them to kick those people out. Lauren reluctantly had to tell her this, as she was also extremely annoyed by the situation. Please forgive me, Your Majesty. They insisted they wouldn't leave until they had an audience with the Emperor. The more Leah heard, the more frustrated she became. Were those people also implicated by Leah and becoming a nuisance? But that will end today. The best way to deal with troublemakers is to cause trouble. I'll definitely show them that I'm the best troublemaker on this continent. As Leah and Lauren approached the back palace door, they heard shouts echoing from inside. The royal family must keep their promises, Leah exclaimed, and we can hear them from out here. It seems they're vehemently opposed, Lauren added. Leah forcefully threw open the door and yelled, louder than the commotion, hey, you in there. If you keep this up, you won't get anything good. However, upon seeing the person inside the room, Leah was taken aback. There's only one person? This is simpler than I thought. The person supposedly causing the disturbance was none other than Lindo. He held a protest sign and shouted with all his might, wake up, wake up. I accuse the royal family of breaking their promise and abandoning the future of the empire. Empress, you must take responsibility. Isn't this different from what was promised? Leah thought, I'm not doing this. Lauren whispered in Leah's ear what Lindo had told her before. Asterisk, I am Lindo Casso. I was brought here by the emperor because he said I was a charming and intelligent man. Asterisk Lindo raised his protest sign higher and yelled, he promised to cover all my tuition fees if I joined the harem. And now he wants me to leave? He wants me to become unemployed with a high level of education. I won't accept it. After Lindo's blunt refusal, Lia felt her heart sink even lower than the depths of a frozen dungeon. I miscalculated. Finally, both Lia and Lauren had to sit down and talk with Lindo. He was allowed to speak his mind, and naturally, he didn't create any further difficulties for them. That I was promised that once I stayed in the harem for 3 years, the emperor would cover all my tuition fees at the Imperial Academy. Lia snatched the signed document from Lindo's hand, feeling fortunate. It's a good thing I'm not impulsive like others. However, as soon as she glanced at the contents, her eyes widened. What is this amount? Over 100 million gold per semester. This is the necessary level of assurance. Lia cleared her throat and unnaturally tossed the paper onto the table. Didn't you hear me? I need to filter the harem. Anyway, I've only been here for 2 months. I'll leave and pay your tuition. Lindo calmly explained to Lia, and the more he spoke, the more irritated she became. That I apologize, Your Majesty, but the registration period is only once every 4 years, and it just closed last month. I was planning to borrow some money to register, but His Majesty promised to cover all the tuition, so that's why I'm here today. Lia tightly gripped the paper, biting her lower lip, her beautiful face contorted in a grimace. Asterisk, this is a crisis. If I'm not careful, I'll end up becoming the infamous villain who wasted tax money after becoming empress. Asterisk. She tilted her head to the side, trying to find a way to ignore the situation. Asterisk, well, it's not like there's only one academy, right? I'll find another academy and get you a special certification. Asterisk, she silently added, of course, somewhere cheap. However, Lindo stubbornly insisted, no, it has to be the Imperial Academy. Even though it's just a simple major that doesn't make money, the special pharmaceutical course is my passion, and it's only available at the Imperial Academy. This time, it was Lia's turn to be surprised. She was startled. Wait, pharmaceuticals is about making medicine, right? Then, this guy can make antidotes. I completely forgot about the expensive tuition. Oh, merciful heavens. How did you send such an important talent? She asked Lindo. So, you've graduated from basic pharmaceuticals, and you've been thinking about taking the advanced pharmaceutical course, right? Lindo honestly replied, yes, it deals with difficult-to-use medicines. In practice, the demand is low, but the difficulty is high, and the advanced course is only available at the Imperial Academy. So, you'll have to take responsibility for that. Lia suddenly agreed with Lindo, all right. He clearly hadn't expected her to change her stance so quickly. Yes, Lia smiled kindly and said, I will invest in you. Meanwhile, Scene wasn't as calm as he appeared. He was thinking about what Lia had casually said to him before. I like warm tea on rainy days. The sound of raindrops hitting the window pane makes me feel relaxed, and the tea warms my heart. At times like these, Scene felt utterly hopeless. Just hearing that voice makes me sleepy. I'll definitely figure out what scheme is being used. However, even after waking up, Scene couldn't investigate anything further. I can't find it. He sat up, holding his head and reproaching himself. My spirit has really weakened to this extent. Even though I tried so hard, I ended up falling asleep next to her. This is a big problem. He remembered his aide's words, which had caused him a headache. Your Majesty, we received a letter from the South requesting an expansion of maritime trade. This matter should be discussed with Duke Celeste. Regarding the recovery funds for the affected areas, the treatment of the prisoners will be decided by you. Their words were like hitting Scene over the head with a hammer. He sat there in turmoil, not wanting to do anything. Just when he thought he would lose control, a gentle voice rang out, Your Majesty, have you had breakfast? Please have lunch with me, Your Majesty. At that moment, she truly became the light of his life. The Empress. Isn't she angry? While eating with Lia, Scene paused when he heard her call him, Your Majesty. Scene looked directly into her eyes. Lia sadly lowered her head and asked, Why are you always so quiet? However, Scene couldn't say anything. He thought, asterisk, I just want to hear her voice more, and I'll stop casually asking why people in the harem are leaving. I can't blurt out that stupid question, asterisk. But now, the food on the table had been replaced with documents needing his signature. Scene had to stop all his work. He racked his brains in frustration. Even though I'm finally awake, I still can't focus because of that woman. I guess I'll go ask her directly. Why did she start paying attention to me? And what are her true intentions? Scene put his pen down and said, I'll stop here. Today, I'll go to the Empress's palace. True to his word, Scene went to the Empress's palace. Where is the Empress? At that moment, the maid, frightened by Scene's imposing presence, stammered, "Why yes, your majesty. The empress is in the harem." She said it was urgent. At this, Scene felt a pang of disappointment, realizing he'd been a fool. He quickly said, "I'll be back. Cancel all of today's appointments." Scene, his gaze cold, asked the maid, "Did the empress say where in the harem she was going?" After hearing the answer, he asked again, "The harem." He thought to himself, after taking such good care of me, she suddenly decides to visit the men in the harem. "Your majesty, try some of this, lie down. You must be tired today, right? Have some of this centerpiece." Is she mocking me? He remembered Koku's words and his own aching body. He pictured Leah surrounded by others, her happy expression. "This is paradise. Do you know how hard it is to keep the emperor happy?" Leah laughed, "Ha ha ha." She turned to him, her voice alluring. "You surely don't expect anything from me, do you, your majesty?" "I wouldn't dare to hope." She walked slowly towards him. "Dad, if I don't please you, my family won't benefit either." "Right?" Celeste's scheming daughter. There's no way she approached me with good intentions from the start. That is human connection and warmth. He told himself no. Scene felt that someone like him, who once considered humans mere obstacles to be eliminated, couldn't yearn for such things now. He turned to leave without another question. "I'm leaving. Forget about today's events." The servant replied, "Yes, your majesty." He wondered, but if that's true, why does a part of my heart ache? A voice echoed, "All right, let's do it." Leah said, "For the next 2 years, work exclusively as my personal pharmacist." She offered Lindo a condition, "If you make it through the probationary period, I'll pay your tuition at the Royal Academy." She thought to herself, Lindo Casso. It's possible he's been bought, but I've decided to trust him for now. All the men she'd met so far were busy flattering her, and Leah always enjoyed such treatment. She felt that, in that sense, it was hard to imagine them going through the trouble of preparing a new string of assassins. Refusing to leave, even those who plotted to poison Leah would know better. Moreover, this man, she looked at his figure, assessing him. His eyes are too clear, devoid of any ulterior motive. The only thing burning in them is academic passion. If he hasn't been bribed yet, I need to recruit him first. Lindo replied, "I will serve as your personal pharmacist. What kind of medicine do you desire? A tonic? An elixir of immortality?" "Of course, I can't create a true elixir of immortality." Leah's blunt reply stunned Lindo. "Poison." She stated frankly, "I need you to research poisons." Lindo looked at her warily and asked, "Forgive me, but may I ask the intended use for it?" She observed his expression and thought, "I can clearly see what he's thinking." Leah calmly stated her purpose. "I don't know when I'll be poisoned, so I want to prepare an antidote." Lindo quickly responded with a cheerful laugh. "Pays. Oh, I understand. Could you not agree so readily?" She signed a contract, saying, "This kind of research is bound to cause misunderstandings. So I need assurance that my life will be protected during this time. Certainly, from now on, your survival and mine will be linked." He removed the cotton from his forehead and said, "Very well, your majesty." He continued, "If the emperor unilaterally cancels our agreement again, I will report your directive regarding poison research to the academy and the press. You see, I have a few connections in that field." Breaking news, the empress assassinated. The target? According to the informant. Shocking revelations about the empress's poison research have come to light. While the empress denies these claims, the truth is, hearing what Lindo said, she hugged herself and exclaimed, "He's so meticulous." Leah looked at him resolutely and said, "All right, I won't replace you, but you'd better not set your sights elsewhere. Otherwise, forget the tuition. I'll send you straight to the underground prison for deceiving the empress." Having said that, she asked again, "You know how ruthless I can be, right?" Lindo replied, "Of course, from now on I will serve you with absolute loyalty, your majesty." He added, "Then allow me to explain the plan right now." She exclaimed, "Oh," as expected of the top academy. He wrote on the board as he spoke, "The reason you recruited me is to survive. Of course, but is mere survival enough for you?" He carefully reminded her, "Antidotes aren't panaceas. They can neutralize the toxins in your body, but they can't heal the damage already done. The poison has caused permanent internal organ damage." "What are you saying?" Lindo explained to her, "If you want to live healthily, you'll need to increase your tolerance." He began to analyze, starting with mild toxins from poisonous herbs. "At most, you'll feel a little tired." Wait a minute," she said in surprise. "Are you telling me to consume poison?" He said, "You need to acclimate your body so it can endure until the antidote takes effect." Lindo began to demonstrate his talent, saying confidently, "I will thoroughly assess your physical condition and prescribe the minimum dose of poison so as not to harm your body. Don't worry, if you don't trust me, I'll try it first." She thought, "If I dismiss him, it will be a disaster. Such passion, so impressive." He He said, if we buy poisonous herb from the market, rumors might spread, so it would be better to grow them in the Empress's palace's herb garden. I have some seeds, so I'll give them to you for research purposes only. After all, poison and medicine are two sides of the same coin. She said fearfully, this could really turn into a big problem. Lia thought with a headache. In that case, I'll need to recruit more servants, those who can keep their mouths shut. He made a suggestion. Why not use those clinging to the pillar outside? If you promise not to dismiss, he asked her back. Are you considering the Empress's palace's finances? Your Majesty, you've become frugal after a few weeks of not seeing you. She gave a wry smile and replied, well then, should I be even more frugal? Oh my, your quick wit truly knows no bounds. Foreign academies seem to have lower tuition. Lindo respectfully said, please forgive me for not recognizing your Majesty's intelligence sooner. You should answer like that. Be careful next time. She lifted her teacup cheerfully and said, what a joyous day to have both a loyal physician and pharmacist. Cheers to our safety and secured livelihood. The pen snapped in half. He slammed the broken pen on the table. Everyone around was frightened. This is the 12th time today. Lia entered the room and said, your Majesty, let's have breakfast together. The man's footsteps retreated. The surrounding atmosphere became quiet. Everyone around sighed in relief, thinking, we survived. A young staff member fearfully said, wasn't he doing well for a while? Why is he suddenly sensitive again? Truly, they gossiped. It's strange how his anger lessened after getting close to the Empress. That's right, they started whispering. Did something happen between the Emperor and Empress? But they still eat together every day. Huh? Other staff members lowered their heads and said, I'm worried that one day, mine will also be snapped like his fountain pen. I've been having nightmares every night lately. Whatever the reason, let's be glad and go back to being less stiff for our sake. Leah's voice was heard once more. Cyan thought to himself, I'm unconsciously drawn to her voice. He walked behind her, thinking, this has happened so many times that I can't save face by staying put, so I end up following her out. He looked behind him with complicated thoughts. Before, he also felt strange, even in the evenings as if possessed. Cyan felt, I find myself in the Empress's room before I realize it. He was startled and wondered in a panic. Since when did this become so natural? He suddenly stopped, bewildered. Unless she's playing a trick on me, how can this be? Meanwhile, Ya, walking ahead, was thinking, he's staring at me again. It feels like he's burning a hole in the back of my head. Suddenly, she felt a cold sweat and thought, we've been getting along for a while. What is it this time? Sitting across from each other at the dining table, Lia thought, I thought we were finally getting closer, but now he's back to not saying a word. Seeing him calmly eating and drinking made Lia feel even more uncomfortable. And the ridiculous thing is, he still diligently prepares meals and makes sure I get enough sleep. She composed herself and thought, no, I shouldn't jump to conclusions. If it were that easy to solve, things wouldn't have turned out like the original plot. She told herself, he's been holding back his emotions for so long. It's even harder for him to express them in words. She stared at him, catching his attention. There's no other way. I have to take the initiative this time. Lia started speaking. Ahem, if I did something to upset you, please let me know. I want us to understand each other better. He was silent for a moment. Then he calmly replied, it's nothing. Seeing his reaction, she said, but, Your Majesty, you keep glancing at me like this. Lia feigned sadness and said, if you keep doing that, I'll be scared. He stared at her, thinking, scared? For someone who claims to be scared, she's quite daring to sit directly across from me. She had to ask, are you angry at me? Angry, he replied internally. Not really. Lia then said, if not, then relax and soften your expression. You look much gentler that way. He continued to stare at her. He sighed, again this feeling. Cyan said, don't mind me. She felt disappointed inwardly. I thought those words would convince him. What an unexpected reaction. Seeing her reaction, he thought, if she's teasing me, why does she look so sad? He wondered, what if all of this is my misunderstanding? He looked at her dejected expression. What if the Empress has been completely sincere with me? He thought, that's right. Her saying she visited the back palace doesn't mean she met another man. She must have dismissed the remaining members and cleaned up the mess. A miraculous change in thought. He thought further. First of all, visiting the closed-down back palace can hardly be called a mockery. Cyan sighed. I didn't need to overthink such a simple matter. He saw a change in her expression. Seeing your relaxed expression makes me happy. At this moment, she was showing happiness. I don't know what changed, but it seems like you're not angry anymore. He looked at her and smiled. He thought to himself, with a clear head, I can see things more clearly. He thought, Duke Celeste doesn't want me in a good state of mind. He felt, the truth is, the Empress is very worried about my health and sleep, contrary to the Duke's wishes. So why does the Empress? Why does she care about me so much? Someone reported, Your Majesty, head court Lady Lauren is here. He replied, Come in. He sat at the table, looking at the person in front of him, and asked, You made an excuse to speak with the Empress, right? She replied, Yes, Your Majesty. I used the excuse of training the servants to leave. He said, Good, get straight to the point. He asked directly, Recently, the Empress has been very dedicated to caring for me. Do you know why? The court lady honestly replied, The Empress has always been a very fickle person. It seems she has found a new interest in cleaning up the back palace. He heard this and thought to himself, So managing my health is a hobby? Whatever, let's continue now. He said to the court lady, I understand. Make sure she loses interest in the back palace from now on. She replied, Yes, Your Majesty. Lauren reported, Actually, these days, Her Majesty has taken an interest in gardening. She's having the men who remained in the back palace till the soil. He asked again, What did you just say? He coldly asked, The men from the back palace are still in the Empress's palace. Hetch groaned, Oh man, my muscles are so sore. Hetch. Taylor, seeing him complain, asked, Hey Hetch, you should be grateful. We almost ended up in the brothel, but now we're in the Empress's palace. Taylor. Zen also replied, Right, besides my face and writing skills, I have no other talents. So, getting a stable, paying job during a recession is a blessing. Zen. Taylor laughed loudly with the other two and replied, Right, I actually joined the harem for the money, but now, earning money through honest labor seems better. Zen said, By the way, hasn't the Empress really changed? She's been really kind lately. Taylor replied, Right, she even stopped drinking. They said, Yeah, and when Lindo said he wanted to study, you let him stay in the Empress's palace, huh? The door suddenly burst open. They were startled. Who is it? This is the Empress's palace. The man's footsteps entered. Seeing that cold face, they exclaimed, Your Majesty the Emperor. All three bowed down and saluted. We greet Your Majesty. He coldly said, It seems I've delayed introducing myself to the palace servants, haven't I? While we're here, I want to ask you something. His cold gaze pinned all three of them. He asked, Among you, who serves the Empress? They cautiously asked, Wait, can we answer that? The Empress previously reminded us, There will be no benefit if you reveal your identities or gossip in the palace from now on. You are forbidden from disclosing personal information. The Empress ordered us not to say anything else. They wondered, Wait, this counts as personal too. So, should we stay silent? But this is an order from the Emperor. What if we say something that angers the Empress? Confessing to Her Majesty's husband, the Emperor, is the same as dying, right? He threatened. If you continue to remain silent, I will execute each of you one by one, starting from the left. He held a knife to Hetch's neck and prompted, Exactly what did the Empress whisper to you? Tell me everything. Don't leave out a single word. They were terrified. What should I do? Save us, Empress. He asked all three of them. What did you hear from the Empress? Tell me everything you heard. Hetch hesitantly thought of a way out. I don't know. Let's try to survive first. He blurted out, She asked us to be independent. He added, There's no money for those who don't work. Since we've been freeloading too much, we should now become independent through labor. His Majesty was stunned after hearing this. He further inquired, Do you know the Empress's sleeping habits? Hetch. Taylor. And Zen answered in turn, She always frowns and curses and yawns too. After they finished speaking, they wondered to themselves. Right. The truth was that everyone was forgetting out of fear. They had become close to Leah very naturally, but they had never actually served her. He said he would give the opportunity to become the top escort to the winner, but to be precise, when the opportunity almost came, she quickly walked in. No, cancel it. Fortunately, it was hindered by the intervention of someone. Hetch had witnessed the scene. I saw her drunk, but she often confines herself in her room. She ordered him, Jimmer, give me all the beer. Am I going to die for speaking? He looked at the three of them and thought, Where's their boisterousness from before? Why are they so quiet now? It seems they lied. These three aren't her guards. He sheathed his sword. Zen brushed past him and left, saying, Continue working. Where's the Empress? The maid replied, Her Majesty is probably in her office. I'll take you there. We escaped. He thought to himself, I don't think those three left a good impression on her in that case. It's best I explain things clearly. Leah, Buttercup, Zen thought, If you pass this test, I'll overlook your cruel actions. Voices could be heard. You've definitely tested it before, right? If it's not good, don't even think about getting a penny. The other person affirmed, I'm certain. I'll stake my qualifications on it. He wondered suspiciously. Men's voices. Looking at his appearance, Zen assessed. He looks like he's from the harem. He felt, unlike those bastards before, he seemed quite close to her. What's going on? Suddenly, she said, "Great, so what should I wear?" Lindo casually replied, I think you should wear long clothes to cover your arms and legs." He was stunned hearing their conversation. Geez, he even picks out her clothes? Seeing the door open, she was surprised to see him and asked, "Oh, your majesty, what are you doing at this hour?" He pointed his sword at Lindo. "Ah, your majesty." He coldly asked, "Your identity?" Lindo honestly replied, "Greetings, your imperial majesty. I am Lindo Casso from the Empress's harem." He questioned, "Explain? Why is someone from the Empress's harem in the Empress's room without reporting to me?" She stepped forward to defend him. "I apologize, your majesty. I thought it wouldn't be a problem, since choosing my own subordinates is entirely within my authority." He was angered by her reaction. She still maintains that sweet tone as usual. He grew even angrier. "Why are you defending another man with that sweet voice? So what if I have a problem with it?" He thought to himself, "I can't ignore the possibility that she's sneaking that man in to threaten me." "What?" she asked back. "Why would I do that?" She thought, "What's with that intense reaction? I could kill him if I needed to." He asked, "So what's that in your hand?" She replied, "This is dream saw oil, but it's actually a poison to increase stamina. But if he knows, it's over." She answered, making everyone gulp, "I was planning to use it on your majesty tonight, because your majesty said you would sleep if I slowly massaged your skin." He kept the sword at Lindo's throat and asked, "So why did he give you that?" She replied, "He majored in pharmaceuticals, so he's very good at it. I often ask him to make things for me." She sweetly said, "Your majesty, I think you have some misunderstanding." He snatched the bottle. He threw it at Lindo. He said, "If you need a pharmacist, I can hire someone else for you." He stared at Lindo. "You wouldn't object to me firing this guy, right?" Everyone around was scared. He's at again. They thought, it's been strangely peaceful these last few days. If the Empress cries her heart out, His Majesty will lose his composure. She remained silent. Liao suddenly said, "All right." He asked her, "You don't care if he dies?" Liao sincerely said, "Yes. If your majesty, the son of the empire, has said so, I have no complaints." He looked at her. He sheathed his sword. She was stunned. "Your majesty." He said, "I think I have a headache." She asked back, "What?" He stepped closer to Liao and said, "Well, I think it's too early to go to bed. I have some very good tea for settling down. Would you like to have some with me?" She spoke sweetly. "I'll have them prepare it right away. So let's go to the tea room." He replied, "All right." Before leaving, she asked, "So what should I do with that man?" He coldly replied, "Do as you wish." She whispered, "Lindo, if I were to take your side, you would die, understand?" Lindo demanded, "Give me the money." Behind him, she replied, "All right. You should have told me sooner if you had a headache." He asked in surprise, "I thought you were angry." She asked, "Have you been suffering these past few days?" He replied, "Yes." She gently poured him some tea. "Here, drink this. You'll feel better." Everyone around felt the atmosphere change. Somehow, His Majesty has become strange. They gossiped, "I heard that he almost beheaded those people in the harem. I'm so relieved I didn't see any bloodstains. Oh my, why did he spare their lives?" The other guards also found it puzzling. "I don't know. The Empress asked him to kill them instead." They speculated. Perhaps His Majesty is testing the Empress? Since the harem has damaged the royal family's reputation, maybe His Majesty wants to check if the Empress has truly changed. The maids thought differently. "No, in my opinion, His Majesty is jealous of that guy." "What?" Someone replied. "No way, listen to me." The maid said, "They've been closer lately. Hasn't he been asking the men in the harem about the Empress's sleeping habits?" No doubt, he's angry with the men who understand his wife better. But then he found out that those men weren't chosen as escorts. "I'm the only one who understands your true self." "Ahi, your majesty, you felt relieved and spared their lives." That maid judged. If it's not jealousy, then what is it? They suddenly realized they were off topic. Eek! But we're talking about His Majesty here. He surely has other political reasons, right? Another maid reminded her, "Stop reading that novel. You'll see I'm right later on." That maid insisted. His Majesty has definitely fallen for the Empress. Liao was enjoying the warm sunlight shining on her. She felt very happy looking at the sprouting seedlings. "This is my little garden. Wow, it has a very special scent. This is the place I created to collect reliable poisonous herbs." She touched the young leaves, perhaps because they're poisonous. "My finger feels a little sore." Suddenly, she thought of Lindo, pondering for a moment. "Lindo, that guy, will he take revenge on me because I told him to kill himself last time?" She thought to herself, taking a preventative poison step. To practice it, Lindo brought the poison. Thinking back to what he said earlier, There might be side effects like rashes, so what should I wear? Wear long clothes. He was angry. Is this something a superior does? Your Majesty, why did you barge in at that moment? Liao sighed in relief. Good thing my excuse worked. I'll let slide this time. I thought I was going to die. She thought. Anyway, thanks to that, Lindo was able to become an official servant of the Empress's palace. Everything turned out well. Someone called her Empress, seeing the person in front of her, Duke Chrome Gel Celeste. She called him father, but truthfully, she felt awkward inside. Asterisk, I can speak naturally, even if I don't want to. Has this body truly memorized Leah's actions? Asterisk, he said to the servants. I have some important matters to discuss with my daughter, so you may leave. She reassured the servants. I'm fine. You can go. They bowed their heads and left. He began, I was worried you might feel unwell since you refused my request. It's a relief to see you're all right. That reminded her. I broke the promise right after our meeting because I felt unsafe. Liao replied, yes, thank you for your concern. His eyes narrowed as he addressed her, Empress. He reminded her, why did I make you Empress? Have you forgotten? She suddenly thought back to before. Asterisk, I don't require much from you, Your Majesty. Just meeting once a month is enough. Asterisk, asterisk, why is this happening? My chest hurts so much. Asterisk. He said, we've been following the arranged meetings, and besides that, I told you not to do it. In return, I've overlooked all the luxury and comfort you've enjoyed until now. Are you really going to break your promise now? Leah clutched her skirt, thinking, asterisk, it seems like this forced marriage was only to secure a relationship with the royal family. But was the expectation only to produce an heir without creating any affection? Instead, live freely and do whatever I want. Asterisk, she turned away, thinking, asterisk, it's ridiculous. I have no intention of being intimate with you either, rest assured. Asterisk, he continued to remind her, you won't do anything to forfeit your position as Empress. You may leave now, father, he suddenly said, but do you really think he will love you? Pathetic. You can't even sit still like a doll. Is the best you can do to find me? Do you crave attention that much? She didn't respond to his words, but thought to herself, asterisk, no, what is this nonsense? How can he say such things to his own daughter? Asterisk, I think I understand why Leah's personality became so warped. She wondered, how can I make him shut up? She thought, yes, but the tears streaming down her cheeks startled her. Asterisk, tears? Suddenly? What's this? Is this also a vestige of Leah? I can't breathe. Asterisk. Seeing her reaction, he immediately said, see, you should just silently obey me. He continued, recently, the Emperor has been handling the affairs of the state well. This has ruined my plans. He handed her a vial, reminding her, do as you did before. Don't try to get my attention with useless actions. Like always, get drunk and yell at the Emperor. Understand, she had no choice but to tightly grip the vial he gave her. Then, she obediently drank it. She thought, asterisk, I can breathe again. It's definitely this medicine. Asterisk, she thought about him with disgust. Asterisk, disregarding his daughter's illness and using her as a tool to control her. Are you really her father? Asterisk. Having said his piece, he left, not forgetting to remind her, now you know what to do, right? I trust that from now on, you won't break your promises to your father because of bad habits. Empress, she watched his retreating figure. Asterisk now, pay for your actions. Will he really just leave? Asterisk. He gripped her hand tightly. Of course not. He squeezed her wrist, reminding her, if you want to get my attention, quickly beg for an heir. And he coldly added, that's your only worth. She slowly crumpled to the ground. He tightly grasped her waist, seeing the fury in his eyes. She thought, Your Majesty, this isn't the place to reveal your true nature. Her father casually bowed. Greetings, Your Imperial Majesty. Sion said, I know you came to the palace for trade negotiations. So why are you here? Her father replied, Forgive me, Your Majesty. It's been a while since I've seen my daughter. Sion emphasized, not your daughter, the Empress. I misspoke. I beg your Majesty and Her Majesty's forgiveness. Sion said coldly, now that you understand, we'll be leaving. She looked at him with emotion, all the effort she had put into caring for him. Deeply moved, she said, Thank you, Your Majesty. Suddenly she gasped, ah. He scooped her up and threw her over his shoulder. Why, Your Majesty? He said, quiet. Embarrassed, she mumbled, this is so embarrassing. Put me down. He ordered someone get her changed. He brought a glass of water to the bed and offered it to her. Drink this. Then he commanded, lie down. She wondered, why is he treating me like a patient? She told him, Your Majesty, I'm fine. That didn't bother me. She thought, well, since I'm not the real Leah, the Duke's words had no effect on me. Ignoring her words, he said, go to sleep. She protested, but still early. He replied, you talk too much. Lying in bed together, she thought, he's complaining again. But since he protected me today, I'll let it slide. Maybe it's because he was surprised, but I think I'm feeling sleepy. He gently stroked her head. She said, "Your Majesty, I'm fine." He didn't speak, but his expression said, "Liar." He looked at her face. If you saw that face in the mirror, you wouldn't be able to deny it. He gently caressed her face. That she's frowning again. Is it a sleeping habit, or is she having a nightmare? He gazed at her for a long time. That I in this regard. Only I know. Yesterday, after meeting Duke Celeste, my body felt strange. When I first debuted, I underwent many detailed examinations. I even changed doctors and hired an alchemist to thoroughly detect anything the Duke could exploit for me. But Lia frowned in discomfort and spoke after seeing the medical report. This is really strange. Even Lindo had the same expression. Even after the blood test, there's no reaction. You're not poisoned or suffering from any illness. Lia recalled the moment she truly couldn't breathe before. Confused, she asked him, "Then where did the pain from standing before my father come from?" Lindo rested his hand on the table. In cases like this, there's usually only one explanation: alchemy. Lia silently agreed with Lindo's viewpoint, but she still had something she couldn't understand. Isn't alchemy like turning stone into gold? Lindo retorted, "What air are you talking about?" He then explained his meaning. Modern alchemy is a vast field encompassing metallurgy, crafting, astronomy, and magic. Lia bluntly warned, "If you dare to boast, your allowance will be cut." Hearing this, Lindo immediately changed his tune, putting on a fawning smile that I suspect it's alchemy related to magic. That's my specialty, so I know a little about it. It was once called magic, a law unexplainable by scientific reasoning. The source of magic was a substance called mana. However, because mana has disappeared from nature, sorcery was created as a substitute. Sorcery, simply put, is the act of wishing for something. However, a living being is required as a medium, a vessel to make the wish powerful and concrete. Lia began to understand it better. "So, you're saying sorcery is related to my symptoms?" Lindo immediately replied, "In cases where your illness cannot be diagnosed with medicine or pharmacology, it usually is." Lia frowned, muttering to herself, "He's awful. A political marriage is one thing, but resorting to sorcery?" Lia unconsciously muttered aloud, "Is he trying to kill me?" "It doesn't seem so." Lindo seemingly didn't notice Lia's muttering and continued to explain alchemy to her. "But having looked at your symptoms, the creature used as a medium becomes vulnerable to various illnesses. If the medium is damaged, the sorcery cannot be completed. On the contrary, it must be handled with care. Not all sorcery is bad, and what parent would want to harm their own child?" Lia looked away. "Although I don't expect normal familial affection from him. He wants me to have a child with the Emperor, so at least he doesn't intend to kill me." Lia said to Lindo, "If what you say is true, then it's certain my father used sorcery on me." Lindo replied without hesitation, "That's right. The top priority is to figure out what specific kind of sorcery it is." Lia suddenly remembered something and sighed heavily. "So, the medicine the Duke gave me is to lessen the effects of the sorcery, right? Can you identify the ingredients based on my blood?" Lindo waved his hand. "Unless it's postpartum ingestion, it's really difficult." Lia suddenly unleashed a torrent of sarcasm on Lindo without mercy, causing him to become somewhat irritated. "What kind of specialist are you?" Lindo, no longer patient, yelled at her, as I explained before. "It's not basic knowledge, okay? You don't even know anything about it. If I'm not trustworthy, I guess you don't need this specialist anymore, huh?" Lia realized she had hurt Lindo's youthful pride and smiled conciliatorily that I'm sorry. "It's just the specialist is too handsome. I couldn't help myself." Suddenly complimented by the beautiful woman, Lindo felt his body overflow with vitality. "People often say love is best expressed with gifts, so give me something valuable." Lia didn't seem to reject his blatant request. "Because you don't trust me, you kept the emergency funds, right? How troublesome." Lindo quickly accepted the pearl necklace from her hand. "You really understand me." Lindo took out a small bottle. "This is the complete antidote." Although Lia was eager to try it, considering its trustworthiness, she said, Wait, you try it first." Lindo quickly obeyed. As I said before, the poison in the initial stage is very mild. As the ingredients continue to be added, you need to take it regularly. He finished the small bottle and immediately handed Lia another. "From now on, I'll use this one of mine." Lia paused after his words. "What do you mean?" "Yours." Lindo explained to her, I must not have been clear. The key ingredient for the complete antidote is human hair." Lia's jaw dropped in astonishment because she had never seen such a bizarre medicine. Lindo was unharmed after taking the medicine, so he instructed, "Your Majesty, I've tried it already. So rest assured, I only extract the toxins from the hair and use them. Hair stores the toxins that the body excretes. The toxins I've accumulated through research are stored in my hair, and I can extract them from there. The complete antidote requires a lot of toxin samples, and it's difficult to obtain them just from cultivation. Although this extraction method reduces the toxicity, it's safer than directly searching for raw materials. It also reduces suspicion, so we need the hair of as many people as possible. Leonardo, I understand. How much do we need? Can we collect enough by taking hair from the palace staff? Lindo considered this for a moment. Since the palace staff all live in the same environment, their toxins might overlap. It's better to use hair from the nobles. Their environments are more diverse, and many have been trained in poison resistance since childhood. Lia felt this method wasn't feasible at all. She asked Lindo, how do you plan to get the noble's hair? However, Lindo tossed this about to explode bomb back to her. That's something your majesty needs to figure out. Thinking long-term, in your current state, you can't withstand strong toxins. Gradually collect the hair and increase the dosage of the medicine slowly. Lia didn't hesitate to bring the small bottle to her lips and drink. All right, let's start with the first step. Lia finished drinking and then commented, it tastes good. It's quite sweet. She looked in a mirror in the room and waited silently. The side effects should appear now. At that moment, red liquid started to trickle out of Lindo's mouth, bit by bit. Lia cried out in alarm. No. Lindo, your blood. She froze in place. Is that because of the antidote you drank earlier? However, Lindo remained calm, as if nothing had happened. Don't worry. The complete antidote still relies on poison, so coughing up blood afterward is normal. It doesn't harm your health. See this research paper for proof. Lia avoided his gaze. All right, I understand. Then, a moment later, blood also trickled from her mouth. Lia looked at herself in the mirror and muttered, oh wow, it's like I'm injured. She quickly wiped it away with a handkerchief. Anyone would think I have a fatal illness. I'd better take this antidote when I'm alone from now on. Elsewhere, Duke Celeste seemed to be conversing with some mysterious force. Duke Celeste bowed his head in apology. I apologize. An unwanted issue has occurred. The mysterious circle of light emitted a reprimanding voice. Is that all you have to say? Duke Celeste promised, I will revise the plan and execute it swiftly. It will help. The mysterious circle continued, I believe in you. Remember, if you wish to receive the promised reward, you must also fulfill your purpose. Duke Celeste was truly enraged. He extended his hand toward a magic orb. He hissed, it seems you need to proceed. Its limit is fading. The magic orb suddenly spoke. Yes, Duke Celeste. The Duke sneered. Then he quickly asked, what can I do to help you? The Butter Empire, a symbol of strength and power at its center, was a pitiful empress torn by grief. That person was none other than Lia. She painfully clutched her hair and wailed, this hair is driving me crazy, with a reputation so bad that no one came to see the performance. The maids close to her were also terrified when Lia showed interest in brushing their hair. Lia secretly calculated, I can't gather all the maids with the reasons I come up with. But the men whose hair she brushed weren't happy at all. When Lia showed Lindo the results, he immediately threw cold water on her. This is all. I need more. Lia was completely enraged. She lunged forward and squeezed Lindo's neck. He says as if this isn't enough? Do you think this is easy? Lindo Bamandit shouted at her. If so, why don't you ask His Majesty for help? Lia cried, currently in great distress because of that. And then they started talking such nonsense. Who in their right mind would ask the emperor to collect hair? Wait a minute. She rejoiced as she suddenly remembered. That's right. I don't need to explain the details, do I? I just need him to set the stage for me. Create the scene with a party. Of course, once she thought of it, Lia didn't hesitate to carry it out. She called Cyan, Your Majesty. He replied to her, as usual. What? Lia enthusiastically fed him broccoli. You should eat your vegetables too. Cyan didn't expect her to be so proactive today. He quickly snatched the plate and ate the broccoli. Lia reached out to take the plate back. Your Majesty. Cyan didn't hesitate to return it to her, along with the question, now what? Lia asked him back with a small carrot on the plate. Do you like parties? Cyan slowly took it. I hate them. He became even more bewildered when Lia, having heard his answer, made a rather provocative request. Then let's hold a ball. Cyan reminded her, I just said I hate them. Lia cheekily replied, that's exactly why we should have one. You'll see how fun it is when you start liking the things you hate. We'll celebrate our anniversary here, right? Cyan, holding a crab, complained, do people celebrate their anniversary after only 3 months? Lia knew that she had lost the argument. I can only force a smile. If I knew this would happen, I would have prepared. Lia probed Cyan a bit. Your Majesty, do you like to bet? Cyan was clearly a little interested. He asked, bet on what? Lia clapped her hands lightly, acting mysteriously. Immediately, some maids came in with wine and pastries. The cart was full of expensive bottles of wine. Lia lifted one of the bottles out of the ice bucket. She gently placed it on the dining table. Lia smiled and patted Sign's shoulder. A drinking bet, she said as she poured wine into 2 glasses. Whoever gets drunk first has to do what the other person wants. What do you think? Lia is rumored to drink wine like water. Her drinking capacity is no joke. On the other hand, I've never seen the Emperor drink. And now his face is very close to Lia's. She observed him for a moment and concluded, such a calm face. He's definitely panicking because he can't drink. Lia used a provoking tactic. She picked up a glass and brought it to her lips. Are you not confident? This wine is delicious, but you wouldn't know, would you, Your Majesty? Of course not, because you can't drink. Xin remained silent and didn't bother to retort. However, soon after, he picked up a glass and drained it. Lia exclaimed, "Oh my, Your Majesty, you're pushing yourself too hard." Xin replied coldly, "Not really." Lia gritted heartit, thinking, haha, all right. 1 hour. I'll end this in 1 hour. It's time to show off all the experience, no, the drinking capacity I've accumulated. All for that new hairstyle. An hour later, Lia slumped over the table, trembling, slurring, "Your Majesty, I'm not drunk. Drink up." Xin had suddenly become invincible, showing no signs of intoxication like her. Why are we doing this? Lia thought miserably. Asterisk unbelievable, he's really too good. Does being the main character make him invincible? His liver must be made of steel. Life is so unfair, but I can't give up. Asterisk. Lia gripped her glass tightly. She continued to play the role of a drunken chatterbox. "Your Majesty, aren't you sleepy? I bet you're really sleepy." Xin used a finger to support her forehead in O. Lia felt like the whole room was experiencing an earthquake. Ugh, so dizzy. Asterisk, what's he saying now? I don't know. No, I can't give up like this. Asterisk. Unconvinced, Lia continued to cling to him. "Just give me one more chance, then you and I are only 5 glasses apart." Xin remained still as a servant continued to pour wine into his glass. "Why should I care about this?" Lia said, "It's not fair." She seemingly unintentionally, yet deliberately, fell into his arms. "Come on." She leaned close to Xin's ear and whispered, "Your Majesty, you know, I have something to tell you." Tonight, in bed, Xin abruptly covered her mouth with his hand. What are you saying?" Lia looked directly in his eyes. "Why? What's wrong?" "You know, when we're together tonight." Xin frantically stopped her. "Stop." However, reasoning with a drunk person is never a good tactic. Lia continued, Every night when I watch you sleep, when I'm in bed, I think about." Lia paused for a moment. She opened her mouth and continued mysteriously, "What I think about." Xin rushed forward in alarm as she tumbled down, losing her balance from the alcohol. The next morning, the sky was clear and bright. Lia trembled, clutching the blanket, and reproached herself. What did I do yesterday? Lia was now strolling in the flower garden within. The palace. She sighed deeply. I should calm down and recall my memories. So, yesterday, I definitely drank with the Emperor, right? She reluctantly recalled yesterday's events when she spilled her wine while telling the story every night in bed. "Whenever I watch you sleeping soundly, I think about a few things about you. Did you know that sometimes you look very serious even when you're sleeping? It's actually quite amusing." Her words stunned Xin. He held his forehead in exasperation. "You find that amusing?" Lia burst out laughing, like right now. Xin firmly ordered the maidservants. "All of you leave. Just leave me to deal with Lia's pestering." Xin frowned and said, "Why should I be happy? There's still some wine left." Lia tried to snatch the wine bottle from his hand. "Please, let me have some more." Xin dodged Lia's closeness. "Go back to your room." However, his empress was stubborn. "Humph, are you ignoring me now?" Xin flicked her forehead lightly. You've already drunk so much that your lips are smeared, and you still dare to say that?" Lia pouted without replying. She suddenly asked, "But why do you call me you?" Xin, caught off guard by the direct question, didn't know how to respond. Lia clung to his arm and mumbled, "Can't you start calling me by my name? I really like being called Lia." "Okay, Xin." Xin's expression flickered with a hint of embarrassment. He grabbed the wine bottle and decisively finished it. "Stop talking nonsense." Lia slumped onto the table, still not forgetting her ultimate goal. "Can we please have a ball?" "Pretty please." Xin countered, "If I won the bet, why should I grant your wish?" At her wit's end, Lia cried out, "I'm begging you, Xin. Otherwise, I won't let you sleep at all, or I won't give you any snacks." "Xin, are you really not going to hold the ball? Unless could you?" Xin's voice suddenly became incredibly flustered. What are you doing?" Lia hugged Xin tightly, their heads close together in an intimate embrace. "I'm begging you." Lia panicked. "Wait, what's the situation? Rewind. Lia gaped in astonishment, her eyes wide with no pupils in sight. Why don't I remember that scene? What really happened yesterday?" She suddenly stood up, bumping into the maid behind her. Lia frantically apologized to the maid. "I'm so sorry. Sit down and rest for a while." Though in pain, the maid maintained her composure, careful not to offend the Empress. I'm fine, Your Majesty. I wouldn't dare. Lia said, I feel bad. Please sit down and rest. The maid was a little embarrassed. Thank you, Your Majesty. Lia looked at the maid in front of her. This girl's name is Sarah, right? It seems she's endured a lot because of me. Sarah, I'm guessing you've been working a lot of night shifts lately. Sarah was surprised by the question. Yes, Your Majesty. How did you know? And even my name. Lia put on her most casual expression and replied, I see you every day. How could I not know? Sarah stammered, I'm very sorry for bothering you. It's just that there's been a lot of work lately. Lia cut Sarah off. Because of my reputation, there aren't enough people attending, right? It's my fault, take this. I heard it's quite good for relieving fatigue. Share it with any other maids who need it. Sarah was incredibly surprised. Thank you, Your Majesty. Lia stepped closer and examined the bruise on Sarah's face. Oh dear, your bruise has gotten worse. I'll send you some ointment and recovery medicine later. Sarah replied awkwardly, Yes, Your Majesty. Although I've only been a palace maid for 2 weeks. The Empress is really different from the rumors. In the royal palace, becoming a maid is often considered an honor for high-ranking nobles. For someone like me, coming from an impoverished baron family, this opportunity seemed like a distant dream. On the other hand, a few maids have been dismissed or have run away. That made the royal family desperate enough to recruit nobles of lower standing. Despite the Empress's fearsome reputation, I'm determined to endure everything for my family. But Her Majesty is so thoughtful. She's completely different from the rumors. Right now, Lia is awkwardly asking Sarah, Hey, Sarah, how do you feel when someone you hate suddenly acts kindly? Do you feel burdened? Sarah, with tears in her eyes, honestly replied, No, Your Majesty, I would be extremely happy. Lia seemed surprised, and Sarah continued emotionally. At first, I was very afraid of the Empress because of the rumors, but you have cared for us so much. We will do our best to serve you, Your Majesty. Please trust us. Lia smiled and replied, Thank you, everyone. I was hoping for some hint about yesterday, but it seems the maids understand what to do. Well, it's good to have allies, so that's fortunate. Should I change the question? Everyone, if I want to get something from the Emperor, what should I do? Sarah asked her. Is it because of yesterday's bet? If so, you should keep trying, Your Majesty. Lia asked in surprise. Really? Should I continue to bother him? Sarah excitedly said, Of course, Your Majesty. People often say even the most stubborn tree will fall if you chop at it 10 times. Lia seemed to be energized, saying she's right. Persistence is key. Let's go. Oh, it's the Emperor. Lia quickly greeted Scene. Your Majesty, good morning. She was still excitedly waving at him when Scene suddenly turned around and ran away very quickly. Lia froze. What? Where's he going? He definitely made eye contact with me. She recalled his previous question. Do you act like this with everyone? Lia was utterly bewildered. What was that memory just now? What exactly did I do? Did I accidentally say that both of us would die in 2 years? Does he think I'm crazy and is avoiding me? Lia asked her maids in disappointment. Did I say anything strange to the Emperor while I was drunk last night? I'm already a nuisance, practically a stalker. And what if rumors spread because I was talking nonsense? Sarah responded in a panic. No way, Your Majesty. If that happened, we wouldn't stand idly by. Lia became more discouraged as she listened. So, are you saying I did talk nonsense or not? It's good that you're all on my side. You'll definitely defend me, right? The maids, who were overjoyed, were taken aback by the voice of a stranger. You can't tell us to do that. Your Majesty, giving such an order will only make people think that you're turning them into allies, according to your plan. Please reconsider. The girl in front of her left Lia momentarily at a loss for words. Who is this person? It can't be done. Your Majesty, if you give such an order, you'll be misunderstood by the maids as harassing them, which made Lia suspicious. This person must be. The girl in the purple dress spoke up, suggesting loudly, Your Majesty, please withdraw your order. Suddenly remembering who she was, Lia immediately thought, Iloa. My father, Cronge Celeste, is the eldest son of the Duke's family, and he has a younger brother named Louis. When the previous Duke passed away, my father inherited the title, and Louis received the title of Count Appenzeller, one of the subsidiary titles passed down within the Duke's family. Louis Appenzeller's daughter, Iloa Appenzeller, so she's my cousin. The Countess, who is said to be a descendant of the extinct rare race, the Siren clan, died giving birth, on the same day as my mother, Duchess Celeste. So Iloa and I are the same age and share a birthday. Asterisk. Asterisk, moreover, as cousins, we look so alike that we could be considered sisters. Born on the same day, losing our mothers, we were like twins. Like a cruel twist of fate. Although I don't have many memories of her. Asterisk, having finished her thoughts, Leah quickly spoke up, suggesting, Iloa, sit here. She respectfully replied, Your Majesty, I truly feel sorry that people call you a rebel, a stalker, or a witch. Hearing this, Liao was a little taken aback. Asterisk, hold on. When did the witch nickname appear? At this rate, I could collect a whole set of nicknames. Asterisk, then, forcing a smile, she said, well, I don't like that either, which is a bit much. Hearing this, Iloa sympathetically said, I understand. Then I will help you. Leah asked in surprise, huh? How? Iloa suddenly took her hand and sincerely suggested, you should publicly declare that you will repent for your wrongdoings in the past. Also, if you serve in the temple, your image will improve a lot. Hearing Iloa say this, Leah didn't immediately reply, but remained silent for a moment, lost in thought. Then, suddenly, she affirmed in a serious tone, Iloa, first of all, I never ordered the maids to mistreat anyone. Iloa asked back in astonishment what. Leah calmly continued. That means if false rumors about me spread, my side will stand up for me. It's disappointing that you misunderstand the loyalty of my maids. And if I follow your advice, it would mean publicly admitting that the empress of this country is a failure. Hearing Leah say this, Iloa quickly let go of her trembling hands, tears welling up in her eyes as she choked out, and just a moment later, tears from the corners of her eyes fell onto the table. Wiping her tears, she apologized, her voice choked with sobs. I'm sorry, I didn't think it through. Seeing this, Leah quickly waved her hand in comfort, saying, It's okay, I said that with good intentions. Then, a little bewildered, she thought, Asterisk crying over something like this? She's so strange. Asterisk, just then, someone suddenly approached and called out, Iloa. Upon seeing this person, she immediately replied, Father. He didn't reply to her, but quickly bowed in Greetings, Your Majesty. Seeing him, Leah immediately thought, Louis Appenzeller, my uncle. He's so different from my father that it's hard to believe they're brothers. This is an awkward situation, right? Anyone could see that I, a bad person, made my kind cousin cry. He suddenly spoke in a serious tone, speculating, I think Iloa must have caused some worry. Leah asked in surprise. He then explained, I've been troubled by the recent rumors about the Empress. Although it's inappropriate for me to say, I beg Your Majesty's forgiveness. I apologize for causing further trouble when I know Your Majesty has also had to endure these rumors. I'm sorry for causing you more worry. She smiled gently and continued, It's all right. I'm glad to see you again after such a long time. She then thought to herself, I thought he would suspect me immediately, but he's surprisingly gentle. If he's the Duke's brother, shouldn't he have some ulterior motive? Or is there something I'm not understanding? But this person, his eyes are so sincere. Having finished her thoughts, Leah stood up and said with a smile, I must go now. I have some things to attend to. Do your work well. He didn't reply immediately, but stared at her in surprise for a moment. Then he hurriedly replied, Well then, I'll see you again, Your Majesty. As soon as he finished saying goodbye to her, he quickly left with Iloa to return home. Seeing him so concerned about Iloa, she couldn't help but feel a pang of envy and think, I'm so jealous that she has such a warm father. It's okay, but I have a Black Panther, so that's fine. I'm gonna be late. Should I hunt down the Black Panther that ran away? That evening, in Scene's room, just as he opened the door and stepped inside, someone suddenly ran up and locked the door. Startled, he quickly turned around and shouted, Who's there? Leah calmly held the key in her hand. Leah said with a sinister smile, I've been waiting for this day, Your Majesty. Seeing this, Scene froze for a moment. Then he quickly stepped back. Just as he opened the window and was about to jump down, she quickly ran over, grabbed his pants, and cried out in alarm. Your Majesty, why are you avoiding me? We're on the 3rd floor. He calmly feigned ignorance and replied, I don't understand what you're talking about. Hearing this, she fumed. You ran away from me in the garden earlier, and now you're doing it again. He calmly explained, I only opened the window because it's hot. She asked in confusion, but it's autumn now. It'll be very cold when the sun sets. Now, come here. Don't go anywhere. Have you had dinner yet? Have a drink with me. He hastily snatched the glass of wine from her hand and said, You shouldn't drink. She asked blankly. Why? Did I bother you yesterday? I don't remember clearly. He frowned slightly and asked, what do you remember? She replied hesitantly, I'm not sure. The part where you said you would reconsider holding the ball. Hearing this, he couldn't help but reproach her with a hint of sulking. You only remember what's beneficial to you, don't you? As she poured wine in her glass, Leah asked curiously, Your Majesty, so you really will hold the ball? He softly reproached her. You remembered the ball, but it seems you've forgotten my name. She asked blankly, what? What name? He frowned and replied, Didn't you ask to be called by your name? She smiled brightly and continued, Oh, right. Well then, call me by my name, Your Majesty. He immediately suggested, You first. She asked, a little surprised me again. How can I possibly call Your Majesty by your name? He quickly reminded her, Yesterday you called me by my name so naturally, but now. Hearing him say so, she cheerfully replied, All right, Scene. Seeing him stare at her, speechless, she quickly asked in a coquettish tone, Scene, then tell me why you don't like parties? I need to know the reason to understand. He answered in a low voice, Because I don't have many good memories from my childhood until now. At this point, Scene suddenly recalled someone's scream and the question, How could you do this? Seeing Scene silent, his eyes somewhat melancholic, staring into space for a long while, Leah couldn't help but notice. Thinking back, the last ball was during the coronation. I don't remember the details very well, but she quickly asked with concern, Can't you tell me what happened? I might be able to help. Hearing her say so, he softly reminded her, You must have seen it at the coronation. She scratched her head and said with an embarrassed laugh, I was so drunk that I lost some of my memory. Hearing this, he quickly took the glass of wine from her hand and said, When did this happen again? You should take care of your health, not me. Seeing her silent, her eyes sparkling like stars as she looked at him, he couldn't help but break out in a cold sweat from fear. Then he quickly turned his face forward and said in a low voice, Leah, you're the one who should take care of your health. She smiled brightly and replied, Yes, Scene. I'll also eat my broccoli properly. He asked, somewhat surprised, broccoli? She asked back, puzzled, What is it? He didn't answer immediately, but picked up the wine bottle and slowly poured wine into the glass. Then he explained in a low voice, I wasn't taught how to understand emotions, joy, sadness, anything. There is a prophecy that an emperor with emotions would destroy the fate of the empire. My father believed in that prophecy and raised me accordingly with strict discipline. For a beast like me, war and hunting are suitable, not a human event like a ball. At this point, Scene also unconsciously recalled the coronation party that day. As soon as they saw him, some people immediately greeted him respectfully. Greetings, Your Imperial Majesty. Greetings, Your Imperial Majesty. He didn't reply, but silently observed his surroundings. The coronation party was as noisy as always. The nobles were eager to introduce their precious daughters to him. While he paid no attention, the loud noise gave him a terrible headache. The young lady behind him suddenly called out, Your Majesty. Just as he was about to leave, someone grabbed his hand, saying he couldn't leave, disoriented by the headache. I overreacted while trying to get away from them. The young lady's father saw this and rushed to her side, then loudly questioned me. Why did Your Majesty try to kill this child? I only shook them off. How could Your Majesty do such a thing? I heard you spent your childhood on the battle. Be careful, everyone, or you might die at His Majesty's hands if he gets angry. He's a tyrant, a terrible tyrant. He's clearly bloodthirsty. People say he's lived on the battlefield for so long that he can't survive without shedding blood. That his constant lack of expression is because he's suppressing his bloodlust, the tyrant. After that not-so-pleasant flashback passed, Scene immediately concluded, once that label sticks, no one will bother me anymore. That's why I won't hold a ball. Leah, hearing this, hummed thoughtfully for a moment and then said, It's okay. I'm by your side now, Scene. If you don't feel emotions around people, or if you find them difficult to understand, I'll teach you. That coronation ball was an accident, not anyone's fault. I'll help Scene so he won't get hurt or make mistakes. I didn't reply, instead feeling a bit doubtful. I'm definitely not drunk, but why does my stomach feel so uncomfortable? Seeing that I didn't answer, she asked in a coquettish tone, Scene, so you'll hold a ball for me, right? I affirmed in a low voice. No matter what you say, I won't hold a ball. But before I could finish my sentence, she leaned in and gently placed a kiss on my lips. After the kiss, she smiled cheerfully and thanked me, saying, You'll hold it, right? Thank you so much. I didn't answer, but quickly covered my mouth with my hand, then froze in amazement. Oh no, it's back again, clearly. Last night, Leah had asked coquettishly, Can't we hold a ball? She was so drunk she couldn't stand straight, but Leah kept insisting, Please, Scene. If not, I won't let you sleep from now on. It was funny watching her chatter. Leah suddenly asked in a low voice, So what? So we'll just keep responding each time. Leah, what are you doing now? And sure enough, right after that, I would be stopped by Liao with a kiss. Then she would plead somewhat coquettishly, "Please, I beg you." It made me freeze for a moment. Then I asked, "Do you behave like this with everyone?" Leah, hearing this, smiled brightly and replied, "No, not at all, only because you're cute." Seeing me suddenly lost in thought, Leah quickly asked, "Scene, are you going?" I suddenly stood up and said loudly, "Leah." Then I suddenly rubbed my forehead for a moment and demanded loudly, "Fix your drinking habits." Having said that, I quickly walked to the window and closed it. The next evening, in Scene's room, while Ya was still happily chattering away, I focused my gaze on her full lips and couldn't help but feel a little curious. Does she not remember kissing me? Or is it really that unimportant? Seeing him somewhat distracted, she quickly called out, "Scene." Then, with a hint of doubt, she thought, "That's strange. I've been staying up late a lot recently. Should I try that new method?" "Right, now's the time to try it." Having made up her mind, Leah asked, "Scene, can't you sleep?" He unconsciously wiped away some sweat and replied a little. Gently placing her hand on his cheek, she blushed and said, "Then, should I brush your hair? A light scalp massage might help you sleep better." She suddenly gave a mischievous grin, and at that moment, "I can get some hair for the antidote." Hearing this, he hesitated slightly and asked, "It will help me sleep better, right?" She, sweating slightly, gave a small laugh and confirmed, "Of course. Please sit down." It seems like he's having trouble sleeping because he's too focused on our conversation. Huh? He didn't reply, instead continuing to gaze at her full lips. Then, feeling helpless, he thought, "I'm going to keep staring at her lips if this keeps up." While brushing his hair, she eagerly suggested, "If you allow me to attend the ball, I'll let you see some new things starting today." He lowered his head slightly and thought to himself, "Yes, if I can get to sleep early, I'm willing to do anything." Then, he replied in a low voice, "I accept your request." She asked in surprise, "Yes, really? You won't take it back?" He immediately confirmed, "Yes." Quickly turning him around, she said with a beaming smile, "Thank you. It'll be so much fun. I'll brush your hair from the back now, so turn around." She then breathed a sigh of relief that I'm relieved. After hearing that story about Scene, I was quite worried since I couldn't remember much, but it seems I haven't made any mistakes. I've gotten Scene's hair, and everything is going well. This is the Emperor's hair. I wonder what kind of poison will be found in it. Of course, it's unfortunate to think about the hardships he's had to endure. Finishing her thoughts, Leah asked, "How does this brushing feel? Is it all right?" "It's new, but I liked it after using it, so I bought it thinking of Scene." Hearing this, he asked, "You were thinking of me?" She replied, "Yes, I do these things only for you, Scene." He fell silent, seemingly lost in thought for a moment. Then he said, "What a strange treatment. Anyway, tell me something interesting." She asked and surprised me. "So, Scene, do you know the scent of winter? The scent that comes when autumn turns to winter. That's my favorite time of year." He couldn't help but feel curious. "Interesting. Tell me more." The next morning, Leah sat slumped over her desk, groaning. Preparing for the ball in 2 weeks is torture. Lindo, looking over a list in his hand, commented, "But the guest list is very promising, showing extremely high effectiveness, especially the foreign ambassadors, who should be certain about it. The more diversity, the more valuable the distinctive features become." She softly confirmed, "I understand." Leah seriously picked up the list and looked it over for a moment. "Anyway, it's fortunate Duke Cromwell isn't attending. He probably wouldn't like me taking the lead. I even thought he'd come to keep an eye on things. Once I escape this death, I'll get a divorce and leave the palace. I fundamentally dislike these events. This is the only way to survive right now. Then, I should focus on finding the antidote." Having finished her thoughts, Leah raised her voice and asked, "Lindo, have you completed what I asked?" While clasping hands with her attendant, she confirmed aloud, "Yes, Your Majesty. Everything has been perfectly prepared." Hearing this, Leah exclaimed, "Excellent." Then, with uncontainable excitement, ready for the ball. Soon, the day of the ball at the palace arrived. Food and drinks were already laid out on the tables. Suddenly, someone shouted, "For the eternal glory of lip balm." It turned out to be a greeting for the arrival of the sun and moon of the empire, Emperor Scene and Empress Leah. As soon as the two were seated, all the guests quickly approached to bow and greet them. Seeing the two seemingly harmonious and affectionate, the crowd began to murmur amongst themselves, "Oh my, look at them. So the rumors about the tyrannical couple are false?" During the coronation, they were tyrannical enough on their own. It must have been an act. Come on, would the Emperor tolerate something he dislikes? Now they look like a newlywed couple, don't they? Lia, seeing this, smirked with amusement. Good. Just as I predicted. Now, should I implement the foundation step? Thinking this, Lia quickly took out a comb and began to brush her hair. A lady in a lined dress, seeing this, asked, "Your Majesty?" Before she could finish her question, Lia, smiling brightly, explained, "Oh, I'm just a little anxious about the ball after the wedding. This comb has a calming effect." The lady, hearing this, exclaimed in surprise. It's unexpected that a comb like this would have such a function. Lia, still smiling, offered, "Would you like to try?" Hearing this, the lady quickly approached and sat down for Lia to comb her hair. As soon as Lia finished, the lady exclaimed in surprise, "Oh, it feels like my mind has been purified, and my whole body feels very relaxed." "Your Majesty, where did you get such a comb?" A blonde-haired lady, seeing this, quickly chimed in, "May we try it as well, Your Majesty?" Lia cheerfully replied, "Of course, feel free to use it, and please leave your impressions afterward. I'll send everyone a new comb later. With your feedback, the craftsman can make even better ones." Hearing Lia's offer, all the guests quickly came forward and took a comb for themselves, then began to brush their hair. Lia was extremely satisfied. The combs had a special scent crafted by Lindo. The scent would emanate from the comb's teeth with each use, and this scent was highly effective in treating insomnia and harmonizing the mind and body. The comb sparked a natural curiosity regarding hair, and through the feedback, we can improve the scent for Scene. Mutually beneficial. While Lia was busy combing the guest's hair and chatting with them, Scene sat silently, radiating a chilling aura. She clenched her fists, suppressing her anger. At that moment, in Lia's room, Lindo handed her a box containing something and seriously instructed, "Your Majesty, this is the new antidote. It will be very dangerous to drink it all at once, so please only drink 1 vial a day." Lia chuckled with delight and exclaimed, "The effort I put into the banquet was truly worth it." Then, she proudly thought, "Running around for so many things, I earned a large sum of money all at once. I did a great job. Phew." With that thought, she quickly stored the medicine box in the drawer. Then, with a hint of surprise, she said, "But Scene is late. It's past the time." She couldn't help but wonder. He left right after the ball. "Scene, how are you today? Is something wrong?" Thinking this, she quickly opened the door and called out, "Lauren, where is His Majesty?" Lauren bowed and replied, "He is practicing swordsmanship, Your Majesty." Lia asked in surprise, "At this hour?" Then, with some suspicion, she thought, is something really wrong? I better go see him, just in case. Besides, I've also prepared a new asthma. I really want to show him quickly. A moment later, at the area where Scene was practicing swordsmanship, one of the 2 guards suddenly apologized. "I apologize, but His Majesty has ordered that no one is allowed in here." Pointing to herself, Lia asked incredulously, "What? Not even me?" The guard replied, "The Empress is specifically forbidden, Your Majesty." Lia couldn't help but wonder, why is he suddenly acting like this? At the same time, after a while of enthusiastically practicing swordsmanship, Scene suddenly stopped. He thought, does she brush everyone's hair like that? She said she only did that with me. It's really nothing. Nothing? Just empty flattery? Why is it like this? Annoyed that Lia was just standing there frozen and not returning to her room, Lauren hurriedly urged, "Your Majesty, it's very cold in the early morning. You should return to your room." Lia didn't reply, but bowed her head slightly and sighed, "It seems he really doesn't intend to see me tonight. I'll give up and talk later. I'll have to play the asthma next time. Since things have turned out like this, I'll just drink 1 vial of the antidote." A moment later, in Lia's room, while wiping her face with a towel, she pondered, "I feel dizzy, perhaps because I collected too much hair. This one is a bit more toxic. I look terrible. More blood is flowing out than before. What is this thing containing?" At this point, Lia suddenly stood up and muttered, "But there's not much time left, so I have to endure it. At this rate, maybe only 2 years, no, 1 year left." Just then, Scene suddenly threw open the door. Startled, she asked, "Scene, you came?" He coldly interrupted her. "Why did you do that?" Lia asked back in bewilderment. "What?" He frowned and angrily questioned, "You brushed other people's hair at the banquet like you did mine. You acted as if you only did that with me. Was it just to appease me?" Lia was stunned, her mouth agape. What is he suddenly talking about? Then, in a small voice, she explained, "Scene, I think there's some misunderstanding." He coldly asked, "Misunderstanding? Then explain it. What am I to you? Just someone insignificant, as long as I can flatter you." She quickly closed her eyes, her face paling with discomfort. Asterisk, what the hell is he talking about all of a sudden? I'm so dizzy I can't think straight. Asterisk. Asterisk, I'll calm down and think. The reason he's angry now is I brushed other people's hair at the banquet like I did for him. I acted as if I only did that for him. Was it just to appease him? Asterisk. What am I to you? Just someone insignificant as long as I can flatter you. Recalling his words up to this point, Lia quickly covered her mouth with her hand. Then, she couldn't help but feel amused. Asterisk so now, it's because I brushed other people's hair too? He thinks he's not special to me? But it's so cute that he thinks that way. Asterisk seeing her suddenly cover her mouth and giggle to herself. Scene felt a pang of annoyance and quickly asked, "Are you mocking me?" She quickly explained, "I'm not mocking you. I just think you're very cute." Before she could finish her sentence, she couldn't help but cough violently. Seeing this, Scene stared at her in astonishment. When he saw the blood on her palm and the corner of her lips, she became extremely frightened. Asterisk, I'm done for. I guess I'm still feeling the side effects of the antidote I took earlier. Asterisk, she hurriedly tried to explain, this is... Before she could finish, Scene immediately interrupted with a guess. It can't be Lia. Are you terminally ill? Lia froze, stunned. What? Seeing her silence, Scene continued his speculation, suddenly changing doctors, dismissing the entire harem, and even starting to be sweet to me, all because there's not much time left. Do you really only have a year left to live? Lia was taken aback by his words. Asterisk, no way, at this rate. Maybe only 2 years, no, 1 year left. Did he hear those mumblings? Asterisk then, despite feeling very unwell, she hastily explained, no, it's nothing. Seeing her about to collapse, Scene quickly reached out to catch her, calling out in worry, Lia. She weakly suggested, Scene, I'll tell you everything. He anxiously replied, you must be in a lot of pain. Don't say anything. Then, gritting his teeth, he thought, I didn't even know this and I'm talking nonsense. He gently wiped the blood from the corner of her lips and softly advised, don't do anything, just lie still. He continued, I'll accept everything. Lia weakly asked, what do you mean? He seriously replied, everything you want. She quickly pushed him away and weakly requested, move a little further away. Then she exclaimed, oh no, there must be some misunderstanding. Scene suddenly spoke in a serious tone, except for that. I'll try to save you by any means. Don't leave me. With that, Scene immediately scooped Lia up into his arms. Startled, Lia quickly clung to his neck and exclaimed, Scene, wait, something's not right. He immediately declared, the Empress's palace will be sealed until you recover. Hearing this, Lia stared at him in astonishment for a moment. Then she hurriedly insisted, no, I'm fine. Before she could finish her sentence, he threw her straight into the bathtub. Before she could understand what was happening, 3 maids suddenly approached. They then undressed her and started to help her bathe. A moment later, Lia, now lying in bed with her eyes wide open, saw that Scene seemed to be still awake. So she turned to him and asked, Scene, can we talk for a bit? Why did you suddenly seal it off? He coldly replied, if you say one more word, I'll lock you in the bedroom so you can't go out anymore. She shuddered at his words. What? Just then, he suddenly turned to face her and coldly demanded, close your eyes. Enough, go to sleep. Your face is a mess. She felt a pang of hurt at his words, that I'm patient, but no matter what my condition is, to talk about someone's face like that. But my body is tired. The bed is warm and comfortable. No, I have to protect the people. And I need to play the asthma game I've prepared. She stammered softly, Scene, you must go to sleep. Seeing her still stubbornly refusing to sleep, he suggested in a low voice, don't be stubborn. I'll wake you up. She murmured plaintively, tomorrow, there's so much to do. Then her eyes involuntarily closed and she relaxed. But has it always been this sweet? Every day, he'll make me go to sleep with that voice. Falling asleep right away to Scene's voice. That day has come. The next morning, as soon as Lia opened her eyes, several people spoke with concern. The Empress has opened her eyes. Has she regained consciousness? She sat up quickly and asked with a furrowed brow, what's going on? Where are these medical instruments? They immediately replied, we have been confined to the Empress's palace on His Majesty's orders until the Empress makes a full recovery. No one is allowed to leave before then, Your Majesty. She asked in alarm. What? The brown-haired doctor anxiously asked. Now, can you tell us where you feel discomfort? She insisted in a bewildered voice, no, I'm not in any pain. The black-haired doctor hurriedly picked up his stethoscope and stated, as I thought, it's difficult for patients to notice symptoms early on themselves. The brown-haired doctor added, trust us, we guarantee we will cure you. The doctor, wearing glasses, gently adjusted them and seriously suggested, then let's begin the examination, Your Majesty. Lia's face paled and feared, I said I'm not sick. What the hell is going on? Time flew by, and Lia said sadly, 2 weeks straight. 2 weeks. At this rate, I think I'll be stuck in bed. Forever. Lindo hurriedly offered encouragement. Since things are like this, just think of it as recuperating. She retorted irritably, how is this recuperating when I can't even walk on my own 2 feet? You can't walk, Your Majesty. I'll take you. Hearing her say this, he continued to encourage her. At least they allow you to stroll in the garden with nutritious meals and rare medicines, and they bring you everything you want, so you lack nothing. She couldn't help but say helplessly, "But I've already said there's nothing wrong with me. Even if I say I'm healthy, they won't believe me." Did coughing up blood shock them that much? To think they're treating me like a sick person. Heavy. Lindo quickly explained the reason. He's been on the battlefield for a long time. He's probably more sensitive to blood. She sighed softly and exclaimed, makes sense. Handing her the medicine, he said with a grin, "Anyway, since we're here, let's get your body in the best condition to take the antidote. His Majesty might get suspicious later. Here, drink it all in one gulp. It's very rare." Suddenly, the door opened, and the bespectacled doctor announced, "Your Majesty, it's time for your checkup." Seeing them, Koku wailed internally. Again? This is the 5th time today. Seeing them arrive, Lindo scowled and retreated. "Well then, Your Majesty, I'll excuse myself." Before he ran out of the room, he gave her a thumbs up. "Enjoy." This made Lia furious. That guy, acting like it's not his problem. The 3 doctors immediately rushed to her bedside, peppering her with questions. "Your Majesty, can you run a short distance? We hope your lungs aren't affected. Are you short of breath? How is your breathing? Please tell us you're not breaking out in a cold sweat." That night, lying in bed, she asked, "Scene, why didn't you let me hear any sounds?" Scene replied, "You stayed up all night until I fell asleep. Until your illness is diagnosed and cured, even making you go to sleep is forbidden. It's a mystery how no one has figured it out yet." She clutched her head in frustration and cried, "Of course, because there's nothing wrong." Then she asked in a small voice, seeing that, before she could finish, he gently touched her face and said, "Go to sleep. If I see you cough up blood again, I don't know what I'll do." Hearing him say that, her face flushed crimson with embarrassment. She quickly pulled the covers over her head and asked shyly, "But Scene, you get headaches when you don't sleep well." He calmly asserted, "I can sleep." She gently pulled the covers down a bit and shyly stated, "Liar." He calmly replied, "Yes, I can't sleep without you, can I?" Suddenly remembering something, she quickly asked, "So, Scene, that new sound I've been preparing." But before she could finish, he moved closer and placed his hand on her waist, causing her to widen her eyes in surprise. Then she quickly asked, "What is it?" He coldly commanded, "Sleep." She closed her eyes, bewildered. "How can I sleep like this? His hand is so warm, and this blanket, why is it so thin? He's so close." Just thinking about it, her heart pounded in her chest. He remained in his position. Lia looked up and asked, "Scene, are you asleep?" When he didn't answer, she immediately speculated, is he asleep? Has he really gotten used to sleeping without asthma these past few days? Or is he just pretending? Whatever, I'll go to sleep too. He doesn't understand anything. Fine, 2 weeks of confinement is enough. I'll definitely escape soon. The next morning, Lia suddenly spat out the tea she was drinking. Iloa, seeing this, asked with concern, "Oh my, Your Majesty, are you all right?" Lia asked in a daze, "What did you just say?" Iloa, with a slightly concerned tone, replied, because you haven't left the Empress's palace for 2 weeks straight, and even the doctor has been attending to you day and night, so rumors have spread. Congratulations on your pregnancy, Your Majesty." Hearing this, Lia immediately froze, teacup stiff in her hand, and thought, pregnant? What is she talking about? Iloa, resting her chin in her hands, said joyfully, "I've been wanting a nephew or niece." Lia hurriedly interrupted, "Wait a minute." Then stunned, she thought, "No way, I have to look back to see what's going on, right?" Iloa cheerfully continued, "Father and uncle also heard about the rumor and were very curious. But since it's still early, they were advised to be cautious, so His Majesty only allowed me to visit." Lia, hearing this, couldn't help but feel frustrated. Scene's even playing along with this nonsense? I can't even say they can find me because they mistakenly thought I was seriously ill, and it'll be troublesome if Father shows up after hearing about my supposed illness. I won't be able to control it if another unknown spell is activated. Wait, could it be that Scene is playing along with the pregnancy rumor because of Father? He might not know the specifics of the spell, but since that accident, he's been more cautious about Father's actions. Being pregnant, this lie is a shield for me. From now on, I'll play along too. Iloa, with a curious smile, asked, "So, is it a prince or a princess?" Lia, breaking out in a sweat, awkwardly scratched her face and replied, that's still." She suddenly chuckled and said, of course. I heard that you can only know the baby's gender after a while. Your Majesty, as a congratulatory gift for meeting your future nephew or niece, may I sing a lullaby?" Lia asked, bewildered, a lullaby? Then she quickly apologized inwardly. "Sorry, it's nothing, but I just ate a strawberry tart." She continued cheerfully, My mother always sang this song when I was in her womb. Because she was close with the Duchess, I'm sure His Majesty also heard it a lot when he was in the womb too. Lia, hearing this, gave a strained smile and suggested, I see, then please begin. Hearing her say so, Iloa began to sing, while Lia listened intently. When the song ended, Lia immediately applauded and praised. Truly a beautiful song. Just listening to it makes me feel so relaxed. Iloa asked shyly, really? Then I'll write down the sheet music for you. Please sing it to the baby, Your Majesty. I'm sure they'll love it. Could you bring some paper and a pen here? There you go. Do you want to practice it now? Lia replied with a strained smile. I'll practice later and try to sing it. I'm not very good at singing. Hearing this, Iloa immediately offered encouragement. Oh, don't say that. I just want to give my future nephew or niece the lullaby their mother used to sing. Sipping her tea, Lia couldn't help but feel dejected and oh, really, I can't sing. The karaoke owner once came to offer services, but when he heard me, he pretended not to see and left immediately. You can sing it together with His Majesty. They say it's better if the child has more memories with their father and mother. Lia gently placed her teacup on the table, a hint of suspicion in her voice that, why is she pushing this so much? Did Lia always sing well? But I don't remember anything about it. Usually, I can remember most of Lia's habits. Lia, finishing her thought, immediately asked, Iloa, why are you trying to make me sing? With her head bowed and tears welling up, Iloa replied, I apologize, Your Majesty. I just wanted to help my future nephew. Seeing this, Lia quickly exclaimed, she's so sensitive. Then, rubbing her belly and smiling brightly, she assured Iloa, thank you for thinking of me. I'll practice and sing it when the baby is born. She then added silently to herself, if I have the ability to turn this pastry into a baby. Iloa quickly wiped her tears and said with a choked voice, please do sing it. Handing Iloa a handkerchief, Lia changed the subject, but the dress you're wearing today looks very elegant and suits you. Which dress shop did you visit? Iloa quickly took the handkerchief from Lia and, smiling brightly, said, this dress. She then happily chattered about it. A moment later, Lauren entered and announced, Your Majesty, the priest has arrived. Hearing this, Iloa turned her head and exclaimed, oh my, is it time already? Then, I'll be going now, Your Majesty. Lia replied, all right, thank you for visiting. As the priest entered the room, he immediately bowed respectfully and greeted her, Your Majesty. It's an honor to meet you for the first time. I am Sabes, the priest in charge of blessings at the main temple. Because the blessing process requires utmost sincerity, everyone please step back. Lia didn't reply immediately. Instead, thinking wearily, one treatment wasn't enough, and now a blessing? When will this misunderstanding be cleared up? Then, with a smile, she said, I rely on you, priest. Hearing this, Sabes clasped his hands together and said, then I shall begin. As he finished speaking, a golden light enveloped Sabes. Then it moved towards Lia, surrounding her. Suddenly, Sabes seemed to be affected by something. He brought a hand to his chest. Seeing him suddenly stop, Lia curiously asked, what's wrong? Is there a problem? Sabes suddenly bowed and apologized. I apologize. When I try to bless Your Majesty's soul, for some reason, this energy keeps rebounding off me. Hearing this, Lia immediately speculated. He said the blessing is rebounding off my soul. Could it be because of the spell the Duke cast on me? Finishing her thought, Lia suddenly muttered, impossible, I was baptized normally. Could it be? Alchemy or magic? Could that be it? Priest. Sabes' face paled as he immediately denied. You can't say such frightening things. Because of the alchemist's prophecy 26 years ago, the previous emperor forbade everything related to alchemy. Hearing this, Lia quickly fell into deep thought. This prophecy said that if Sin has emotions, he will destroy the entire empire. It seems the previous emperor was very afraid of the prophecy being revealed. But I have to find out what spell the Duke cast on me. Otherwise, who knows, I might fall ill for some unknown reason. Then, lowering her head, she pleaded, please tell me, priest, I already have a bad reputation, and if rumors spread that there's something wrong with my soul, that can't happen. Sabes responded nervously and hesitantly. Lia looked up slightly and exclaimed, it's really not easy then. Then she pretended to cry and sniffle, asking, is there really no way to help me? If I can't receive the blessing, His Majesty will be furious. Specifically, can't you bless me? Then he resolutely drew his sword. Just imagining this made his whole body break out in goosebumps. He hurriedly confessed, "Everything that I know, that all the alchemists were killed and their books burned. I heard a rumor that, by some stroke of luck, one treatise remains in the royal archives." Lia, hearing this, asked excitedly, "Oh my, if we read it, wouldn't we know why the blessing can't reach my soul?" He immediately protested, "No, your majesty. Anyone who touches alchemy will be punished. Even if the book exists, you'll be in danger." Lia tried to persuade him. "If only you and I know, it won't be a problem. It's better than angering the emperor, right?" Se vi started exclam. "No, it's certainly my fault. I'll try harder." Lia sighed. Is it truly impossible, even after using his majesty as a threat? What a steadfast and noble man. What should I do? Suddenly, she saw something. It was the lullaby Iloa had left earlier. She picked it up, thinking, instead of the non-existent child, it would be better if the priest could listen and fall asleep. Then, during that time, I can go to the Imperial Library and quickly check the general theory of alchemy. Should I try? The priest isn't a baby, so he probably won't fall asleep just by listening to a song. Thinking this, she began to sing tentatively. While singing, Lia thought, "Oh, I guess I don't cry at this sound. Am I doing well? With this sound, I think I might actually enjoy singing." Looking up, she gasped in surprise to see Sebes sprawled on the floor. She cried out in alarm, "Sebes, did he fall asleep? Wait, could it be? Did he fall asleep after listening to my lullaby?" Stunned and worried, she wondered what's going on. Sebes, oblivious to the world, lay snoring soundly. She muttered to herself, "At this rate, don't I actually have a talent for sleep management?" She recalled that not only this priest, but Scene had also fallen asleep when Lia had done something similar. Suddenly remembering, she exclaimed in delight, "Oh, wait, then I should quickly sneak into the royal library while I can." Thinking this, she immediately left the priest, hurrying along, her heart pounding. "Excellent. There's no one around to stop me. I can't miss this golden opportunity." She murmured to the soundly sleeping figure on the floor, "Sleep a little longer, Sebes." Reaching the door, she slowly opened it. Lia glanced around at the maids. Once she was sure no one was paying attention to her, she slowly slipped out of the room. The royal library, glittering brightly, came into view. The librarian, startled to see Lia, gasped, "Your Majesty." Lia quickly signaled for her to be quiet. Silence. The librarian panicked. "Your Majesty, why are you here? If there's any book you need, I can bring it to you." But Lia signaled her to be quiet and softly replied, "I want to choose myself. The library isn't a dangerous place." The woman insisted, "Then I will help you choose, Your Majesty." But Empress Lia declined. "No, I'll do it myself. I want to browse in peace." She gave a fake smile. "You truly stand out wherever you are." Then, to herself, she muttered, "Yes, let's hurry inside. It'll be fine." Seeing the librarian still anxious, Lia offered a compromise. "I'll just take a quick look and be right back." But the panicked woman anxiously called after her, "Your Majesty, just a moment." The royal library was truly overwhelmingly vast, leaving Lia bewildered about where to begin. She murmured, gazing at the towering shelves. "How am I supposed to find it here?" Lia paused to think, then started narrowing her search. Since it's a forbidden book, I should start looking in the secluded areas. Each section is categorized by subject for easy searching. Origins of ancient races? No. History of tax reform? No. A pile of books lay scattered on the floor as Lia pulled volumes off the shelves, feeling like she was searching for a needle in a haystack. There are too many books, but where is the alchemy treatise? Trying to reassure herself, she mumbled, maybe it's just a rumor. It wouldn't be easy to find anyway. The time she negotiated with the librarian was running out. Only 30 minutes left. I can't possibly search all of this in that time. Lia looked up at the endless rows of bookshelves stretching far back. I'm out of options. I'll just have to come back another day. It's better to investigate the rumor more thoroughly and have Linder handle it. Still feeling discouraged, she sighed that I was really hoping to find it. Despite her disappointment, she thought, maybe I should grab a novel to read on the way back. Suddenly, an intriguing book caught her eye. Oh, this title is really captivating. Opening it, a new world unfolded, and her face flushed at the content within. Her eyes glued to the pages. She murmured, "Oh my goodness, how can such a scandalous book even exist? This kind of book needs to be read and reprimanded." Suddenly, blood dripped from Lia's finger onto the page. Oh, Lia froze, then quickly raised her hand. A smear of blood staining the paper. "Oh no." My finger snagged on the page. Anxiously, she tried to rub the blood away. "Darn it, I can't let them see I damaged it." As she rubbed, shimmering lights appeared around the stain. Then, unexpectedly, beams of light emanated from within the book. Leah gasped in astonishment. What? Startled and slightly afraid, she whispered, "What's happening? Why is there suddenly light? Did the book just heal itself?" The Empress grabbed the book and examined it closely. What in the world? Now, even the cover was rapidly changing. General theory of all things unreasonable. The title changed too. Suspicion growing, she opened it again to confirm. Wait, the content changed as well. The pages rustled. The inside had indeed transformed into something different, beginning with a message. To the one who swore not to misuse the knowledge contained within this book, the right to read it is granted. May you learn and master the art of alchemy to bring forth much benefit for the world. Leah couldn't believe herself. Alchemic knowledge. She actually found this book with almost no information on it. There's no doubt about it. This is what I'm looking for. Is this the alchemy book? As she rejoiced, the librarian and a knight entered, respectfully saying, "Your Majesty, an hour has passed." She quickly turned and ran. The worried woman shouted, calling for her to come back. "Your Majesty." Leah frowned and pointed, forbidding them to follow. "Don't follow me. If you follow me, I'll throw all of you into the new harem. Even if you're women, there will be no exceptions." This made the woman and the knight hesitate, standing frozen in place. She ran to a secluded area. Light from outside shone into the glass room. Leah hugged the book in her arms, wondering, I lost them, right? Then she sat down at the table, gazing at the book in her hands. Let's see. To those who wish to obtain alchemic knowledge, make an oath. But the pages behind it were completely blank. Leah searched, frustrated. What's this? Why isn't there anything after this? She frowned, looking back and forth, muttering, besides an alchemy book, who else would be enchanted? I should have realized it when it was disguised as a red book. Suddenly, Leah recalled the peculiar situation from earlier. An oath, huh? Before, when I received this book, just now, when I spilled blood, the book glowed. So, maybe if I spill blood again. She looked at the thorns nearby, reassuring herself. This thorn probably won't hurt too much. Then, Leah skillfully dripped a few drops of blood onto the blank page. The book immediately shone with a brilliant light. Words finally appeared on it, just as Empress Leah had hoped. What do you wish to know, Master? She was so excited she wanted to scream. I knew it. This move was the right one. I'm a genius. Leah seriously asked the book, "Oh, hello. I have something I want to ask. Do you know anything about curses?" But after waiting a while, the book remained silent, without any reaction. Leah frowned, waiting in vain. Still the same as before? Since this is a book, maybe I should try writing it down. She immediately took the quill on the table and slowly wrote a few sentences about herself. I'm cursed, and suddenly I can't breathe, and it's very painful. The cause is unknown. Can you tell me what kind of curse it is? That's how they communicated. The book immediately gave an answer that it is a curse cast within a day of your birth. It is bound by blood and tied to fate. Leah was astonished. Fate. She started to recall the past, more than 10 years ago, muttering to herself, if it was cast within a day of my birth, when I was a newborn, then the culprit must be the Duke. Was it a curse meant to kill me? But not as she expected, and no. Currently, you are soul-bound to the person closest to you. The book gave several answers in succession. Normally, the target would be a blood relative, but your case is different, Master. Writing up to this point, she began to remember scenes figure. If it's the person closest to me, but not a blood relative, then scene. She put her pen down again, writing a few lines questioning the end of the cycle. What happens when souls are bound? In most novels, when one person dies, the other dies too. But Leah shook her head, dismissing this as false. Impossible, right? Another question made Leah hesitate before daring to write it down. What happens to the person whose soul is bound to mine if I die? The book replied, if one soul is completely extinguished, the other soul will also be damaged. Over time, that soul will be bound even tighter by the curse, and eventually they will share the same fate. Leah seemed to realize all the dangers stem from herself. In the original story, when Scene went mad and died, was it because Leah, the person whose soul was bound to him, died first? She was horrified, unable to believe it, her hand gripping the quill tightly. But that's impossible. If one side weakens, the other weakens too. How? Lauren walked past the room, the partially open door catching her attention. Why is the door open? Is the blessing ceremony over? She approached and peeked inside, softly calling, Your Majesty? Sir Sebes? Is the blessing ceremony over? Lauren stared at the empty room in utter horror. The Empress has disappeared. She and a knight rushed to the priest, Sebes, who was lying sprawled on the floor, unconscious. Sir Sebes, please wake up. Sir Sebes. He was vaguely helped up by the knight, who also noticed the priest's peculiar state. This reaction. It seems like he's been affected by some kind of drug. Lauren was stunned, as if struck by lightning. Did a drug? Could it be someone kidnapped the Empress? Lauren panicked and quickly wound up the clockwork device. Hurry, we need to inform the Emperor. Meanwhile, Leah still hadn't digested all the terrifying information, the truth that Scene and she were soulbound. Did the person who killed Leah know this? She also knew the terrifying consequence. If Scene were killed directly, it would be a rebellion. But if the Empress's gruesome death only caused a brief disturbance, by killing Leah, it seemed they could easily eliminate Scene as well. Leah gritted her teeth, unable to figure out who was behind IT.SO, who is the culprit. She held her head in discomfort. This is so complicated. Moreover, the curse placed on my soul is still in effect, and that's also causing trouble. Liao is still lost in thought, unable to break free. It's making my head hurt. Let's start by organizing what we know for sure. In other words, if Scene is healthy, I'm healthy, and if I'm healthy, Scene is healthy. Taking care of Scene's health actually helps. Me too. She only now realized and panicked. Wait, does this mean I have to continue to be bound to Scene? But Leah sighed and glanced at the book. Let's put this issue aside and focus on something else. She frowned, wondering, why do I feel a little drained again? Another drop of blood was used on the book to activate it. The Empress was beginning to realize the danger lurking within. Could it be? I knew it. The more questions I ask, the weaker the effect of the blood becomes. I'll have to replenish it periodically when using it. But she wasn't too concerned about that yet. The most important thing right now was to get answers to her unanswered questions. All right, let's move on to the next question quickly. Why is this curse so painful? The book immediately provided the reason. It was because the two forcibly bound souls were repelling each other. They needed to merge to no longer feel any discord. The quill pen continued to work tirelessly. Can't the curse be broken? No, unless one of the two souls is extinguished. But wouldn't that mean the other soul would also be affected? The book acknowledged this as well. Yes, when the curse is broken, the other soul will also perish. The more Leah read, the more she felt caught in an endless spiral. What is this? She sighed in frustration. It's like an endless, vicious cycle. I guess I have no choice but to ask about how to merge them. As more blood dripped, Leah's health rapidly declined. Ugh, my finger hurts so much. She finally got to the heart of the matter. How can two souls merge? The book quickly provided the answer. Emotions, physical connection, and contact. But this answer was too vague, leaving Leah dumbfounded. Emotions, physical connection, and contact? What am I supposed to do with that? But the book didn't offer a satisfactory explanation, only advising her to follow her instincts. I have given you the fastest method. The choice is yours, master. Finally, the glowing trail disappeared back into the book, which contained content not suitable for those under 18. What? Leah slammed the book down on the table. Hey, you can't just stop there? Explain clearly before you go. She picked up the blood-soaked vine. All right, I need more blood. Leah suddenly realized it had been used up. Ugh, I can't use this anymore. If I pick more of the herb, Lindo will nag me. There were pruning shears on the table across from her. Leah had her eye on them, but absolutely didn't want to use them. Scissors were terrifying. She closed her eyes, bracing for the pain if I just bite it with my teeth. A cold voice appeared before her eyes. Found you. Just then, she brought her finger up and bit down hard. Scene rushed over angrily and grabbed her hand, blood welling up from the wound. He angrily shouted at her, "Are you crazy?" Leah, startled, avoided his gaze. Scene. The Emperor angrily expressed the rage building inside him. Because Sebes fainted, I thought you were kidnapped. Did you escape? Do you hate me that much? Leah looked bewildered, not understanding what was happening. What? Do you hate being bound to me so much that you would harm yourself? She hurriedly explained, seeing how upset he was. See, it's not like that. There are circumstances. But the Emperor didn't have an ounce of trust. He scoffed. Circumstances? What? Are you going to make the excuse that you just wanted to enjoy some alone time reading? It turned out Scene had her figured out from the start. He'd even anticipated her excuse. Well, yes. Scene gripped Leah's shoulders, his brow furrowed as he asked, "A book you could read in the Empress's palace, and yet you went so far as to knock Sebes unconscious and run away." She trembled, unsure how to answer, because I could be executed for reading a forbidden book. Scene started to notice the book. How amazing is the book you're reading? The forbidden book had fallen to the floor, its contents revealed. Chapter 7. The Endless Night of the Lady and the Knight. Lia, stunned and pale, quickly kicked the book away with her foot. How did this page get open? Scene silently watched her. His face flushed slightly as he said to her, "If you want to see it, just say so." But Lia really wanted to explain, yet had no way to defend herself, and oh no, I'm really not that kind of person. The emperor then made a generous offer, suggesting luxurious indulgences for the empress. "I'll bring you anything you want." But Lia sighed and shook her head in refusal to no. She placed her hand over her heart and softly explained, "It's just worry and frustration. You'll probably be angry too, but in times like these," she looked at the bleeding wound on her finger. "Please say, I'm sad you're hurt. Be careful not to get hurt." Empress Lia smiled, explaining to soothe Scene's anger, "I didn't really hurt myself. I just accidentally bit it when I was startled." He started to speak, then stopped, as if wanting to say something. "If I upset you, then I apologize." Hearing this, she smiled brightly, gently squeezing his wrist with both hands, praising him. "Scene, you're not a tyrant, you're warm. I told you, didn't I? An emperor with feelings will ruin the empire's fate. That kind of thing is meaningless." But Lia, still smiling, patted his head and countered his previous statement. "See, the empire hasn't collapsed yet, has it?" For a moment, his heart wavered. But outwardly, Scene frowned and grumbled. "So you think I'll overlook your escape, huh?" Scene hoisted her over his shoulder, while Lia shrieked in protest. "What is this? This isn't a princess carry." He retorted, "It's being carried like luggage. You really have a lot of demands, troublemaker. And you're not a princess, you're the empress." As they moved away, Lia remembered the almost forgotten book. "She why know that. We need to get that. Please pick it up." After getting her way, she cheerfully thanked him profusely. Thank you." Scene, carrying her, muttered, "I don't know how I've put up with this until now." She suddenly noticed his words, but didn't understand their meaning. What do you mean?" Scene smirked and continued, "When you said you'd abolish the harem, I should have anticipated the withdrawal symptoms." Lia, perhaps now realizing things were taking a dark turn, frantically pushed at his head and exclaimed, "Withdrawal symptoms? You're not misunderstanding something strange, are you?" But Scene remained calm, even enabling her reading of the forbidden book. "I'll pretend I didn't hear that. So from now on, feel free to read as much as you like." Empress Lia, blushing furiously, frantically tried to explain, but her words didn't seem to reach him. "No, I don't. Please put me down." Inside the room, Priest Sebes was hastily kneeling and apologizing. "Your Majesty, Empress, I sincerely apologize. I was so worried that I fainted while giving the blessing." Lia laughed it off. "That happens, don't worry. How do you feel now?" Sebes bowed his head respectfully. "I feel overflowing with your boundless grace." He hurriedly explained, "I feel completely healthy, so I will immediately bestow the blessing again." The emperor, standing beside them, frowned and urged, "Let's get this over with quickly." Suddenly, Lia felt a wave of fear, her face paling. "What now? What if they find out the blessing isn't working? Alchemy, magic, how am I supposed to explain this? If I'm exposed, I'll be executed." So, just as Priest Sebes stepped forward to bestow the blessing, she stopped him. "Wait a moment." But the light of the blessing had already appeared, enveloping her body before the bewildered eyes of the supposedly cursed person. Sebes had already begun the incantation. "In the name of the divine, I bestow upon Empress Lia the power of blessing, to protect her body and mind." Lia forced a smile and thanked him. It seems it didn't work earlier because you were too worried. But after resting, you've succeeded brilliantly." But Sebes looked worried, muttering to himself, "Is that so? I must apologize. I hardly remember anything before I fainted." Lia was stunned. "What? So he's forgotten all about the alchemy and soul talk we had earlier." She was also bewildered. "I thought he dozed off because of my lullaby, but did he faint from using too much power?" She held her head, muttering about how she had praised herself to the skies. "Well, I'm not a witch. How could I lull someone to sleep with a song?" At that moment, the priest bowed respectfully. "I will return and continue to improve myself, Your Majesty." She nodded and waved him off. "You've done very well." Now alone in the room with her, the emperor remained stern. "I will lift the confinement order, but you must have regular health checkups. If you neglect your health, I will confine you again." Lia, now sitting on the bed, her hand bandaged, countered seriously, "I understand. But in return, Scene must also have regular health checkups. It's not fair if only I have to go." Scene was speechless. "What's unfair about it? Even after being so ill, you're still making excuses." Lia puffed out her cheeks angrily. "Is that all you see? Scene, you may look fine, but you could also be in a condition that requires a health checkup." Then she exclaimed about the rumor spreading through the palace. "And please do something about the pregnancy rumor. I was so shocked when I heard it from Iloa. You know about it, right?" Empress Lia puffed out her cheeks, furious. "Certainly. The rumor helped delay the Duke for a while. Yet she had to endure a ton of bad reputation. Delusional, which stalker, hateful. It's not fair. Scene waved his hand dismissively. If it's not exposed, it will eventually disappear on its own. Why bother? Liao was startled and disagreed. What? What about my reputation? We should have hidden that book and kept quiet. Hearing this, she hurriedly tucked the book under her pillow and urged him to comply with her request. Hurry up and deny it. If you don't, I really won't let you sleep. But the emperor didn't immediately comply. He calmly turned to leave. It depends on how you behave. She called out after him, refusing to give in. Scene, you're terrible. Suddenly, the tea table was empty. She turned, pointing at the table, then looked up and asked the emperor, by the way, have you seen the sheet music on the table? He shook his head and replied, no, I haven't. It probably got lost while cleaning. Was it important? Liao shook her head. Not really, but it was a gift from Iloa. If it's lost, I feel a little guilty. But Scene wasn't concerned about that. He was most concerned about everything related to her. So he urged her towards the bed and suggested, if it's just a small matter, don't worry about it and go to sleep. Liao also pulled her legs up onto the bed and obeyed him, but I still feel a little bad. She mumbled thoughtfully, I'll send Iloa a gift to thank her. The next morning, inside the room, Liao was discussing something with Lindo. The book clearly states that our souls haven't fully merged yet, but when Sebes gave the blessing, it worked perfectly without any resistance. The medical student, holding the book she brought, frowned and asked, you said it was about emotions, the body, and touch, right? Perhaps the Emperor's emotions have also started to affect his soul. Hearing this, Liao murmured excitedly, really? Then, if we continue like this, we won't get sick from the curse anymore. Inwardly, she thought, we just need to keep seeing Scene and exchanging emotions, right? Lindo muttered, looking at the book in confusion. But why did that Sebes forget everything that happened with the Empress? That was something even Liao couldn't explain. Who knows? Maybe he really did forget after he fainted. But it's a good thing. Liao sighed softly that it's beneficial for us. If he had talked about alchemy, that book might have been discovered. I even tried it with Lin out of curiosity, and this book only reacts to my blood. As long as we don't talk about alchemy, the risk of discovery is very low. But the contents of the forbidden book are a bit beyond my control, though. Disguising it as a red book is a bit embarrassing anyway. Asterisk, it's still better than revealing it's an alchemy book, but why do I feel like I've forgotten something important? Oh, whatever. I'll remember it eventually. Asterisk. Inside the dark room, mysterious and shadowy things were about to be revealed. Do you think they suspect anything? The lady holding the wine bottle smirked. If they suspected, one of us would already be dead. But it's true that we haven't made any progress. She poured a glass of crimson wine. If things remain like this at the next summoning, punishment will come. The man lifted the wine and took a sip. If the Empress can't be swayed, they'll move on to the Emperor. Just because things have been quiet for a while doesn't mean their nature has changed. Blood always demands blood. Outside, the sky was a vibrant blue. A gentle breeze swept through, making the air even fresher. On one side was the area where the army was encamped. It had been a while since Liao had felt such fresh air. The air is so refreshing. Leaving the Imperial Palace, I feel full of life. Today was the day of the grand hunting competition. She recalled yesterday, of course. Scene tried to stop me, saying it was too dangerous, but I kept insisting, saying that being by Scene's side would be safer, and finally, I was allowed to go. Liao was proud of her ability to persuade others. Leaning against Scene's shoulder, Liao softly said, you think bringing me along was a good idea, don't you, Scene? He frowned, asking, why are you so excited? Liao, still beaming, cheerfully replied, it's just that, honestly, I'm quite simple, optimistic, and peace-loving, you know. His gaze suddenly flicked towards her, full of suspicion and disbelief. Scene, his brow furrowed, changed the subject. Did you look at the list of participants I sent to the Empress's palace a few days ago? Startled, Liao quickly nodded. Oh, yes, of course I did. Earlier, she had been struggling with the curse. In truth, she'd been busy hiding the fact that she'd vomited blood after drinking the universal antidote yesterday, so she barely remembered anything. But she suddenly realized Scene seemed on edge. But Scene, why are you so tense today? A man bowed low, appearing before them. Greetings, Your Majesty. Cedric Sylvester greets you, Your Majesty. Heir to the Sylvester Duchy, Cedric Sylvester. Liao was bewildered, the name sounding familiar, but not placing it. Scene said beside her, frowning. This is why I've been irritable. So he's arrived. That's why you're so cheerful, Liao. Your fiancé. Liao froze, what? Thank you for watching today's video. Our story continues with many exciting developments ahead, so don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel to support us and not miss the latest episodes. We wish you relaxing and enjoyable moments. See you in the next video. Thank you for watching.